around first thing. They tend to dry up, and then brighter skies turn up in the east, whilst the next band of rain turns up in the southwest. Now this is Storm Goretti. This has been named by Météo France because of very strong winds expected over northern France. It will bring strong winds to the southwest, but it's also going to bring a risk of snow to Wales, the Midlands and East Anglia.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Thank you, Britain, for helping us reach 10 million followers across social media. We are truly honoured to have your trust, one follower at a time.
Good morning, this is the latest AI travel news from GBnews.com. The A93 is closed at the Snowgate at Spittal of Glenshee due to adverse weather conditions, and drivers are advised to use alternative routes and allow extra time if essential. On the M4 eastbound, expect heavy congestion between Junction 28 at Tredegar Park and Junction 26 at Malpas, with delays likely during the morning commute and speeds remaining slow. On the trains, Elna advises do not travel between Edinburgh and Aberdeen, while Cross Country is reporting disruption between Edinburgh and Aberdeen, plus further disruption between Doncaster and Sheffield. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Martin Daubney, weekdays from 3 p.m.
Well, you're absolutely right. Spot on. I couldn't help feeling that perhaps it was actually just a joke. And they were going to come back in 2 years' time and say, we took you all in. It was, in fact, a joke. Now we're going to produce something more serious, because it's absolutely hilarious and ridiculous. Commercial suicide, I described it as.
Well, the individual behind it is no more. What would you like to see from the brand? Presumably not people with asymmetric haircuts in pink dresses with sledgehammers doing precisely zero to do with cars.
Well, again, absolutely, you're spot on. I mean, it's just totally unrelated to cars at all. It wasn't even a car in the advert. Jaguar was built on style, and that brought passion for cars. That's what made them different. I remember many years ago, a Jaguar executive in the States saying to me, people say, I like my Mercedes, but I love my Jaguar. It's all about passion. Style engendered that. That's what we've got to have. We need to see a proper, more traditional, stylish, real Jaguar that can build on the brand and the heritage of the past.
OK, Philip Paulson, I'm going to put you on the spot now. If you're in charge of the next Jaguar advert, what would it look like?
As diametrically opposite and different as it possibly could be from what they produced. I suppose, I mean, I live a little in the past, I admit, although I also think I'm hopefully realistic about the current situation and everything, the present. But I'd like to see the heritage shown. Jaguar were not afraid to talk in the past about their heritage, the Le Mans wins back in the 50s, the E-Type in the 60s. This is what added excitement and luster to the brand.
GB News, the People's Channel.
All too often, people will be sitting at home watching a press conference live, and they'll hear loads of questions being asked, and they'll be thinking, that's not my question. That's not my concern.
We don't care whose feathers we ruffle. We ask the questions that you want answering.
You're all standing on the street protesting and want to have an open discussion.
My name is Patrick Christie's. I do a show for GB News in the UK. Is it possible to talk to you quickly?
Journalism in this country has been a cosy world full of groupthink until now.
Well, this is the best view ever of Whitehall, looking out across all the tractor drivers of England who've come together to make their point.
Hello, so as you can see, I'm here in Westminster as the protest begins.
Yes, I'm very much in the thick of it.
Look, we're challenging narratives here at GB News, and that's what sets us apart.
Good morning, it's 9:30 on Wednesday the 7th of January, live across the UK, Britain's Newsroom with Andrew Pearce and Miriam Cates.
Well, when it comes to Venezuela and Greenland, the US president is not backing down.
We need Greenland. from a national security situation. It's so strategic. Right now, Greenland is covered with Russian and Chinese ships all over the place. We need Greenland.
Well, President Donald Trump considers using military force to take Greenland, ignoring pleas from European leaders not to do so.
We signed a declaration of intent on the deployment of forces to Ukraine in the event of a peace deal.
And get this, the Prime Minister has agreed with France that British soldiers will be deployed in Eastern Europe if there is a peace deal with Russia. But how do you feel about British boots on the ground?
And I don't think we should have to ask specifically for every single piece of information if you have things that you could give us that would assist us in this process.
We have individual intelligence reports from people who live locally, but also some open source intelligence reports.
Well, there are growing calls for the resignation of West Midlands Police Chief Constable Craig Guilford, who banned Israeli football fans from Aston Villa in November and did so to keep these people in Birmingham safe.
We should not show mercy, but what does that mean? They are not welcome here today. They are not welcome to Aston.
I think that story's got a long way to run. And ice baby, it's Britain's big freeze. Hundreds, in fact, at least 1,000 schools have closed. There is travel chaos. Storm Goretti is incoming with almost, 20 centimetres of snow? That is
7.5
inches. 7.5, 8 inches of snow. In case you don't like me, don't want to do metric.
Well, someone I'm sure who will be keen on imperial measures, Reform UK leader Nigel Farage says he'll oppose Labour's fuel duty plans. We'll find out his alternative plan shortly.
And the Technology Secretary, Liz Kendall, has demanded Elon Musk must stop its artificial intelligence chatbot Grok being used to create sexualised images of women and young girls on X. Good luck with that too.
And will there be a road safety revolution? Well, drivers could be limited to 1 pint or even fewer under a tightening of drink driving laws. Does it go far enough? Should we have a zero-tolerance approach like other European nations?
Extraordinary. The coalition of the willing, Starmer, France, Germany, they're all there at the Elysee Palace. They put out a statement saying, hands off Greenland. It's part of Denmark. It's part of a NATO country. And within hours, Trump's press secretary, Ms. Leavitt, is saying that the president, as commander-in-chief, she called him, reserves the right to use military force as an option to take control of Greenland. They don't care what Europe thinks.
No. I mean, it is a fascinating story because America has tried to buy Greenland before, after the war, and also Denmark has given Greenland the permission, if you like, to grant their own independence. So Greenland could choose to become independent from Denmark and join the United States if they want. So it's kind of up to them.
It is. They have the right, if they want, to have a referendum. And most polls suggest that people in Greenland would like independence from Denmark, which they've been part of Denmark for over 300 years.
And there's only about 80,000 Greenlanders, maybe fewer, I can't remember.
I think it's under 60,000. Tiny. And also, of course, we're going to be talking to you in this programme about the pub, because it's going to be more and more difficult, particularly if you're in a rural area, because changes in the law effectively mean you could be over the limit if you drink 1 pint of beer.
It will basically be a total ban on drink driving.
Yeah, because it's going to come down from 35 milligrams per pint to 22.
That's for young people. And 80 to 50 older people.
So, and also there's going to be a big delay in how you do your driving test.
Oh, I see. For
young people, it's theory to the practical, because they think too many young people driving recklessly.
Do you think it's anti-car or do you think it's pro-road safety? Well, let us know.
I think it's anti-pub, and I feel for the pub industry, because we know how difficult it is for pubs, and we know how many pubs have banned their local Labour MP from attending. In fact, we might be speaking to a publican who's done just that.
Well, please let us know what you think. Visit gbnews.com/your say. But first, here's your 60-second news update with Tatiana Sanchez.
Thank you and good morning. The top stories. The UK, Ukraine and France have signed a declaration of intent to deploy forces to Kyiv in the event of a peace deal. Washington is promising to act as a backstop in case of any Russian aggression. Moscow has not yet commented on the announcements made in the French capital. Meanwhile, Donald Trump has threatened to use military force to take over Greenland, claiming for the move is necessary to ensure national security. European leaders and the Greenland Prime Minister have issued warnings to the US president after he doubled down on his threats to take the territory. Donald Trump has announced Venezuela's interim government will be turning over between 30 and 50 million barrels of high-quality oil to the US. The oil will be taken by storage ships and brought directly to US unloading docks, the president said on Truth Social. It's after Mr. Trump spoke about the US military operation in Venezuela during a speech in Washington, describing it as an amazing military feat. And Britain's first named storm of the year is set to strike this week, bringing heavy snow and strong winds as the New Year cold snap continues. It's been named as Storm Goretti, and the south of the UK is expected to be most heavily affected on Thursday and Friday. 3 yellow warnings are in effect today for snow and ice. Those are the latest headlines. For now, more news at the top of the hour.
Tune in to GB News Radio wherever you are. Online, on DAB digital radio, on TuneIn, on Radio Player, on Nation Player and on your smart speaker. Just say, play GB News.
Hello, good morning and welcome. That wasn't ice that you heard squeaking in the background.
That was my mobile phone.
Oh, your mobile phone.
It was probably my laptop, actually.
Well, welcome to
Wonders of
Newsroom.
technology.
You're very up with your technology, aren't you? Is your laptop working today?
It is.
That makes a change.
Yeah.
Well, you're watching and listening to Britain's Newsroom. We're live across the United Kingdom on GB News with Andrew Pearce and Miriam Cates.
So I do have to say again, I think the impotence of our European leaders in the face of a president on the rampage like Donald Trump.
Coalition of the witless, I think.
Yeah, I mean, that very carefully crafted long statement, Macron, who such a self-important little twit anyway, isn't he? But he was hosting the event. Starmer trying to look important. They say they'll put boots on the ground. But basically, the most important thing, they put a statement out saying how important it was to protect Greenland and how it was part of Danish territory, of Danish kingdom, they keep using that word, and for Trump to keep his hands off. And within hours, Karen Levitt, the press secretary to the President of the United States, I've got what she said, acquiring the land, it's a national security asset, and we do not rule out utilising a military option. A military option is at the disposal of the Commander-in-Chief, which of course he is, the President of the United States.
I mean, I do wonder if it's a bit of a bluff. So, do you remember when Donald Trump threatened to pull out of NATO?
Yeah.
And in doing so, he forced the rest of the NATO countries to spend a lot more money on defence.
Well, it's taking us quite a while to get there in Britain.
It is, but the commitment is there now from all the other countries, and particularly some countries, particularly like Germany and Poland especially, have really stepped up.
Yeah.
And I wonder if this is similar. Greenland is so key to the battle against Russia and China, to protecting the Arctic. Perhaps by threatening military action, he will actually get Europeans to take seriously the defence of Greenland. Because I can't imagine the Danes would have a problem with the American hosting whatever military assets they want to on Greenland.
No, exactly.
They don't necessarily need to own it. But who knows with Donald Trump? Who knows?
Exactly. So to recap, the UK, Ukraine, France, they've signed a declaration of intent to deploy forces to Kiev in the event of a peace deal. Germany have also signed it, but they say they won't deploy troops in Ukraine. They'll deploy them in neighbouring countries.
Which they're already in, probably.
Well, I don't quite understand that. Here's what the Prime Minister said at the coalition of the sort of willing meeting.
Alongside President Zelensky and President Macron, we went even further today. We signed a declaration of intent on the deployment of forces to Ukraine in the event of a peace deal. Following a ceasefire, the UK and France will establish military hubs across Ukraine and build protected facilities for weapons and military equipment to support Ukraine's defensive needs.
However, just hours later, Donald Trump threatened to use military force to take over Greenland, claiming that the move was necessary to ensure national security.
Well, we're going to talk now to the Greenland MP Akamatilda Hulkdam. Forgive me if I pronounced your name incorrectly. Good morning to you, and thank you so much for joining us on GB News. Can you explain to us, because we're aware, but our viewers may not understand, but if the Danish people sought a referendum if the Greenlandic people sought a referendum to obtain independence or potentially independence from Denmark, they could do that under a 2009 accord, I think.
Yeah, of course, because the Greenlandic people, we are not recognized as Danish people. We have Danish citizenship because we are not a sovereign state, though we are recognized as a peoples of our own, and that gives us the right to external self-determination under the United Nations. So yes, that is absolutely true.
Now, I gather there was a poll in 2025, which, while it showed 54% might like independence from Denmark, only 6% wanted to be joined to the United States. Would that reflect your view?
Honestly, I was part of that that poll, and I was honestly disappointed because you could only choose during independence. Do you want to be taken over by the United States, or do you want to keep being a Danish person? Right. We didn't even get the possibility for what most people in Greenland wants, is for us to be recognized as a people of our own, to have our own sovereign country in a political sense, at least. Because the fact is, and we are very aware, that militarily we cannot defend ourselves. Right now, the United States is already in Greenland, and Denmark have been trying to step up their game in the last year or so. But it is something that we are very aware of, both in the Parliament of Denmark and the Parliament of Greenland. So it is something we have taken into account, yeah.
Now, how seriously do the people of Greenland take these threats by Donald Trump? Do you think it's just a bluff? Do you think he's trying to get Europeans to step up defence of the Arctic? Or do you think he's serious about putting troops on the ground?
Well, I think it's important not to get caught up in Donald Trump's political theater, if you can say so. And I think it's very easy for the media to get caught up in these. These statements are not new, and reacting with outrage and fear-based mantra every single time, that's what keeps them alive. That's what the Trump administration want. And I think it's important to keep our head cooled down. And of course, it is important for us to keep stating that Greenland is not for sale, but that position has not changed, right? And responding with these repeating slogans is not a strategy. So I think right now the most important part is for us in Greenland that have not been able to have foreign policy issues before because of Denmark and the role that the Danish colonialism have had on Greenland. We were not even allowed to have these discussions with any other foreign country before. So this is fairly new to us. But the most important thing right now is that Greenland decides to have a dialogue within each other. So we agree inside Greenland of what kind of future we want, because we keep hearing both from Denmark, but also from other countries around the world, that the future of Greenland should be decided by the people of Greenland. But then it's up to us, the people of Greenland, and therefore their politicians, to agree on what kind of future we want so we can have a dialogue with the United States. If you look at any conflict around the world in human history, the fact of the matter is that every single conflict have been resolved through diplomacy or, in the worst case, use of force. And we want to avoid that last part. So, of course, we have to be able to have a diplomatic relations with Greenland and the United States directly, so we can find out what the common interests are and to make sure that the Greenlandic people are safe and secured for.
Can I, forgive me for asking this question, I hope it doesn't sound patronising, what is the scale of your armed forces on Greenland?
Greenland are not allowed to have our own armed forces. It's under Denmark. And unfortunately, it is not enough. And we have acknowledged that in the Danish parliament as well. So, for example, right now there are around 2-3 ships that sails around the coast of Greenland. And Greenland is really big, right? Really huge waters. Well, in comparison, Norway has around the same body of water that Greenland has, but Norway has those kind of ships. They have around 20 of them. and they need more. And in comparison, 3 is therefore not enough at all. We have had deals that makes more purchases, but still not enough to secure that we even know what's going around in the waters of Greenland. So it is a real concern, but we have to keep our heads cool and try to have clear and good negotiations with the United States as well.
And Greenland has a lot of natural resources, particularly that could be useful for a lot of technological products. Do you think that's part of the US's strategy to get hold of some of these natural resources in the event, for example, that the Chinese invaded Taiwan and so the supply was no longer possible from there?
That is a good speculation, and a speculation that might as well be, because let's be honest, I think there are really attractive minerals and oils in Greenland that the bigger powers around the world, including the United States, Russia, China, would be very interested in having. So for us, though, it's important to keep in mind that Greenland is not just an object. It's not something we should only speculate about what another foreign power that is a close neighbor and ally want to do with us, because we are a people, we are an actor. We're not just an empty vessel of land. And it's very important to also notice we are an indigenous population in Greenland. So what we need to do now is stopping the speculations and actually having these discussions directly to find out where the interest lies and how we can make sure that the Greenlandic peoples are thought for first and foremost.
All right, well, thank you so much for joining us. We really do appreciate it, and the very best of luck to you. That's Aki-Matilda Høgh-Dam, a Greenlandic MP. Absolutely fascinating, isn't it?
It is. Fascinating country.
Because it was a Danish colony from 1721.
Yeah.
And then in 2009, 1979, they got home rule. In 2009, they got this right to have a referendum. But clearly, there's no support for America there at all.
No. But it is a tiny population.
Tiny.
And
it's
small
56,000.
countries, unfortunately.
56, that's smaller than an average English city.
Town, oh yeah, much smaller. I think you have to find a British town that's that size and compare it. But,
we'll find exactly.
But it does make you realise how silly we are to complain about the weather when you see those incredible shots of snow and ice all the time.
But didn't it look stunning?
It does, absolutely beautiful. And the colourful houses and...
Really wonderful.
But cold.
Now, still ahead, find out why the Conservative Party leader, Kemi Badenoch, says the West Midlands Police Chief, Constable Craig Guilford, has capitulated to Islamists and has to go.
Well, up next, drivers might be limited to 1 pint or even fewer under a tightening of drink driving laws. But what does this mean for our country pubs?
But first, bearing in mind how cold it is out there, we're going to show you some very nice holiday sun.
Can't wait to get in that sea.
Lovely and warm.
Just like the feeling of having great travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News travel destinations forecast.
Whilst we've seen the cold weather affect the UK and much of Western Europe, it's turning less cold in Iberia now, whilst it's increasingly unsettled across southeastern parts of Europe, especially Greece and Turkey, where we'll see strong winds and heavy rain moving through during Thursday and Friday. Italy's on the cold side, temperatures a few degrees below average. Meanwhile, temperatures have now recovered for Spain and Portugal, back up to the double figures or the teens in places.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News travel destinations forecast.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Martin Daubney, weekdays from 3 p.m.
I think that many problems that Luton has, I think many parts of the country are suffering from those problems. Okay. But I think there are some good aspects to living in Luton as well.
But Raki, we have to address the elephant in the room in a sense, and that is Luton an example of a failed multicultural town? What I mean by that is we have 54.8% of the population is non-white, the largest being minority ethnic group Asian, and we do see, you live there, cultures living side by side, and there's a lack of integration. Is that a problem?
No, I think there's definitely integration challenges which need to be addressed in Luton. Now, when I was a lot younger, there were significant social tensions in Luton. We saw the Islamist Butchers of Basra demonstrations and then the subsequent creation of the English Defence League, the EDL. But I have to say, even though we have those integration challenges, if you look in other parts of the country, there have been significant forms of civil unrest which Luton has not experienced. If you remember the 2011 summer riots that took place across England, there weren't many incidents in Luton. And if you want to talk about ethnic and religious segregation, I think that Leicester has far bigger problems than Luton. So I think that while Luton has its issues surrounding integration and segregation, I think that some of those problems are even more intense in other parts of the country.
We can't finish this conversation without noting, of course, the entrance to the away end at Luton Town Stadium there. Of course, that is an entrance which goes through someone's house. It's so bad, it's good. In fact, away fans who go there say it's a good away day. It's something that they will always remember.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
We're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
Welcome back. Well, ministers are considering toughening the rules in England and Wales, which would bring them into line with Scotland. This is on drink driving. And currently, in Scotland, just one drink can put the driver over the legal limit.
But one pub was closing every day last year. Could this be the final straw, particularly for rural pubs? Well, we're going to talk now to the landlord of the Old Thatch in Wimborne, who is Andy Lennox. Andy, good morning and Happy New Year, but I suspect this isn't very Happy New Year for you. If they do bring this change in, it would mean we'd go down from 35 milligrams of alcohol to 22. Effectively, 1 pint, you're over the limit.
Yeah, I mean, it's another blow to the pub. Ultimately, nobody wants to see drink driving, and nobody wants to see any deaths on our roads. However, having 1 pint and driving is exactly what people would do in a rural pub area. Yeah. And to take that away basically just is another licensing rule that is just destroying the rural pubs.
Now, of course, in the rest of Europe, the limit is lower than ours. We have about 300 drink driving deaths on the roads each year, but I imagine those are people who are drinking a lot more than 1 pint.
Yes.
But do you agree there should be a different limit for younger people who've only just passed their test, perhaps, to older people who are more experienced?
Yeah, perhaps there should. I mean, ultimately, at the end of the day, drinking a pint and driving, is everything that basically, a rural pub needs. Ultimately, we don't want basically people to be drunk on the roads in any way, shape or form. And potentially 18-year-olds should be, subject to more stringent rules. However, this is just a distraction by the Labour government against what actually is happening in pubs at the moment. We've got these rates bills coming down the line. We've got taxation outside, spiralling. And ultimately, this is just some kind of distraction away from what the real problem here is that basically the Labour government and Keir Starmer and Rachel Reeves are essentially arguing at this moment about whether they're going to put some relief back in for pubs. To add more and more licensing laws is just ridiculous in the present environment.
And Andy, you'll know that the Prime Minister said, I think yesterday or the day before, he appreciates that pubs are up against it, and yet the Chancellor, Rachel Reeves, is blocking any extra assistance, financial assistance for pubs, and she's going to do nothing on your business rates, which we understand are spiralling massively upwards.
Well, ultimately, who's the Prime Minister here? I mean, and that's the main thing. I mean, you can't have a Prime Minister turn around and say, look, we know that pubs are going to basically really be struggling, and then the Chancellor to come out and say, well, we're not going to do anything. And ultimately, it's actually untrue. The Treasury are drawing up plans for some kind of relief. We're calling for a VAT cut in line with Europe at 13%. You know, why in Europe? We're talking about, you know, in Europe basically driving regulations. You know, in Europe, VAT rates is on the average at 13%, whereas we're at 20%. So the argument is essentially, you know, Rachel Reeves needs to understand that if Keir Starmer believes that there is problems in the pubs and taxation is too much, then she's going to have to do something.
Andy, a lot of landlords are banning Labour MPs from their pubs, including the Chancellor of the Exchequer's local in her Leeds constituency. Would you welcome a Labour MP in your very nice hostelry in Wimborne, the old Thatch?
Well, I was the first pub to ban Labour MPs.
Were you now?
Yeah. So I'm the person who is running that campaign. And ultimately, you know, I think we have about 1,450 pubs now. You know, the pressure that we've been able to bring to bear is absolutely fabulous. And that is what is basically pushing this whole agenda. You know, and let's be honest, you know, if Rachel Reeves and Keir Starmer don't sit up and listen, this is only going to get bigger. We are pushing into industrial action. There's protest plans for the end of the month. We are going to go further and further and further. You know, we employ 3 million people. We're the third biggest employer in hospitality in the UK. And we generate 60 billion in taxation. They have to sit up and listen to us, and we're not going to go away until they do.
Well, let's hope they do. That's Andy Lennox. Thank you so much.
And Andy, if I'm in Wimborne, I'm going to come and have a pint with you.
Absolutely. We may see a U-turn, Andrew.
I think
We've seen lots of other U-turns.
I think we might. There's been a U-turn on farms, hasn't there?
Well, don't go away, because as Nigel Farage is about to set out Reform UK's fuel duty plans and much more, that's all on Britain's Newsroom, Britain's favourite morning show on GB News.
Thank you, Britain, for the thousands of you who are becoming friends of GB News every week.
You're not only watching and listening to our programmes, you're becoming part of them too.
Good morning, this is the latest AI travel news from GBnews.com. On the A93, the road is closed at the Snowgate at Spittal of Glenshee due to adverse weather. On the A55 at Britannia Bridge, there is a temporary limit of 30 miles per hour both ways until further notice. In Leeds, the M1 northbound at junction 46 has 2 of 3 lanes shut, improving around 11 this morning. In Rochdale, the M62 eastbound between junction 18 and junction 20 has slow queues and 20 minutes delay, easing after 10. And on the trains, Elna says do not travel between Edinburgh and Aberdeen, while Cross Country reports disruption between Edinburgh and Aberdeen and between Doncaster and Sheffield. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Hello from the Aurora Collection Resort here in Lapland. We're on an amazing Arctic adventure to celebrate our greatest cash giveaway, a simply stunning £85,000. And in 2026, we're giving you the chance to win it all.
For another chance to win £85,000 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB18 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 30th of January. The winner may be contacted live on GB News, week commencing the 9th of February 2026. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good morning, it's 10 o'clock on Wednesday the 7th of January. We are live across the United Kingdom. This is Britain's Newsroom with Andrew Pearce and Miriam Cates.
US President is not backing down at all and is considering using military force to take Greenland, ignoring the pleas from European leaders to do the reverse.
We signed a declaration of intent on the deployment of forces to Ukraine in the event of a peace deal.
Well, our Prime Minister agrees with the French that soldiers will be deployed in Eastern Europe if there's a peace deal with Russia. But how do you feel about British boots being on the ground?
And I don't think we should have to ask specifically for every single piece of information if you have things that you could give us that would assist us in this process.
We have individual intelligence reports from people who live locally, but also some open source intelligence report.
And the Tory leader Kemi Badenoch is leading the charge for the sacking or resignation of the West Midlands Police Chief, Constable Craig Guilford. That pretty appalling performance for MPs yesterday. He was the one who banned Israeli football fans from Aston Villa in November, and he did so to keep these people in Birmingham safe.
We should not show mercy, but what does that mean? They are not welcome here today. They are not welcome to Aston.
Well, stay with us because any moment now we'll be hearing from the Reform UK leader Nigel Farage on how he's going to oppose Labour's fuel duty plans. And ice baby, it's Britain's big freeze. Schools are closed, travel chaos ensues, and Storm Goretti is incoming with 20 centimetres worth of snow, or about 8 inches.
Yeah, that yellow weather warning for ice has been in place this morning by the Met Office, and they've already issued yellow weather warnings for snow into tomorrow and Friday. But if anyone's worried about my welfare, don't worry. We've got the soup on the stove, keeping us warm.
Wonder what flavour. Road safety revolution. Drivers could be limited to 1 pint or even less under a tightening of drink driving laws in England and Wales. But what does that mean for the rural pub in particular? Thousand schools closed because of the snow. Can you believe that?
I'm in favour of it, snow days.
Huge inconvenience for mum and dad, though, isn't it?
I know, but what's childhood about? I mean, I still remember my snow days. I mean, I grew up in Sheffield, so there's a lot of snow, a lot of hills, so we did have school closures quite often. Right. I mean, a day of sledging that you're not expecting, what's wrong with that?
Yeah, but why can't they keep the schools open?
Well, I think it depends how many teachers can actually get into school, doesn't it? But unfortunately now, because they trialled online learning during COVID, certainly the last few years when my kids had snow days, they sent them work to do online.
So there's no sledging?
Well, I'd made them go out and sledge. No work. Much more fun.
We, as ever, want to know what you think. Should they be closing our schools? Do you agree with Miriam? They should, if it's this heavy snow. Post your comments by visiting
gbnews.com/your say. But first, here's the news with Tatiana Sanchez.
Thank you. The top stories. The UK, Ukraine and France have signed a declaration of intent to deploy forces to Kyiv in the event of a peace deal. Washington is promising to act as a backstop in case of any Russian aggression. Moscow has not yet commented on the announcements made in the French capital. Here's what the Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer said at the Coalition of the Willing meeting.
Alongside President Zelensky and President Macron, we went even further today. We signed a declaration of intent on the deployment of forces to Ukraine in the event of a peace deal. Following a ceasefire, the UK and France will establish military hubs across Ukraine and build protected facilities for weapons and military equipment to support Ukraine's defensive needs.
Shadow Justice Minister Kieran Mullen spoke to GB News about troops being deployed.
Ukraine's national security and the war it's fighting against Russia, and it's in all of our interests for them to succeed. So, of course, we will be sympathetic to whatever we can do to maintain its border security if there is a deal. But, of course, committing troops, putting them in potentially the firing line is one of the most serious things a government can do. And, of course, an opposition should be very, very careful about giving any support for that. We'd want to see the exact details of not just what Britain may well be committed to, but what other allies, particularly America, what they signed up to do. I don't think it would be a credible deterrent to Russia if America aren't involved. So, yeah, we're not going to give a yes at this stage. We'll have to look very, very carefully at it.
Let's go live to Westminster now, where the Reform UK leader Nigel Farage is speaking.
It has been. We managed in that election to win a handful of seats and get over 4 million votes, but have made pretty remarkable, indeed some would say historic, progress since that moment. And we've now led the opinion polls for nearly 200 polls in a row with an average of around about 9 or 10%. So it's been an amazing 18 months. Now, of course, current affairs and politics never stop. And with the certain man in the American presidency, it's been a pretty busy news period. But today, I want to take the opportunity to remind everybody that 4 months today, on the 7th of May, we will see the single most significant set of electoral tests in this country between now and the general election. And my time, my effort, my focus, my energy, my drive, right at the moment, is entirely on getting this party ready to fight those elections with the right candidates and the right leadership where it's needed. The Welsh elections have been very much talked about already, and after 26 years of Labour controlling Wales, given that it has the worst NHS, the worst education, we're about to see in the traditional homelands in the valleys, the Labour Party getting pretty much wiped out in those elections. And I'll be doing events in Wales over the course of the next couple of weeks. And it really does look like a two-horse race between us and Plaid. In Scotland, the party has made just the most astonishing progress. I mean, I have to say, it surprised even me. Just look at the sets of by-elections that take place every couple of weeks, and you'll see consistently, since July 24, our numbers improving. And in the one by-election there's been for the Scottish Parliament, we scored in the high 20%. I will be doing a press conference in Edinburgh next Thursday, where I will announce the leader of Reform UK Scotland. And we look, again, quite possibly, to those elections being a straight two-horse race between us and the SNP, although admittedly, right at the moment, the SNP are quite some way ahead. Of course, we have the English elections. Now, we've got a handful of county council elections that were cancelled last year that are supposed to take place this year, along with a whole new series of mayoral contests and thousands of council seats, many in the West Midlands, many in the North East. In fact, in total, if all the elections go ahead, we're going to need to field over 5,000 candidates on May the 7th this year. But as you know, the government have opened the door for the cancellation of elections in 63 separate areas, and already in East and West Sussex, the ruling Conservative leaders of those two respective county councils have already requested that the elections be cancelled for a second year in a row. I have likened this to a banana republic, and I don't pull back in any way from that statement. But regardless of what gets cancelled, this is still a very major set of elections taking place on May the 7th, and it may well decide who the Prime Minister is. It may well decide who the leader of the Conservative Party is, and it will make a material difference to my strength or otherwise as leader of this party too, and that's pretty much unavoidable. So the stakes are very, very high. Whoever comes out on top on May the 7th will be in a very strong position to win the next general election, which, as you all know, I do not believe will last until 2029. There are one or two commentators that will tell you that the economic markers are looking better, that inflation is softening, that interest rates are on the way down. Well, if you want to take those as measures of the economy being in good shape, you can. I actually take those measures to show just how weak the British economy is. And certainly, once you get outside of London, it's difficult to escape the feeling that we are literally on the edge of a very, very major business contraction amongst the private sector, certainly with small and medium-sized enterprises, and that unemployment may well be significantly higher this time next year. So I still believe that the ultimate power of the bond markets will bring this government to heel, and that we will get an election earlier. But there's one set of elections that I want to talk to you about today, and I know there'll be questions, of course, from the media on a whole range of other subjects. But there's one set of elections that are being pretty much ignored, and that is the fact that all 32 London boroughs are up for election on May the 7th, and they will not be cancelled. Now, traditionally, it would be fair to say that parties that I led in the past had not done particularly well in the capital. But that is changing, and changing very, very quickly. We view these elections as being important, not just of themselves. We view these elections as being a really very major electoral opportunity to us in several of those boroughs, which we believe we can win outright. But we also believe that it's a precursor to the election of the Mayor of London. Now, Sadiq Khan has announced he will run for the 4th consecutive time, there being no term limits. And of course, not everything that's gone wrong in London is Sadiq's fault. The flight of high taxpayers, the imposition of VAT on high-end goods, where those that used to spend fortunes in London now go to Paris, go to Milan. But many of the things that have gone wrong in London are clearly the fault of Sadiq Khan and the operation, frankly, of the Metropolitan Police and what their priorities are. London is now in the grip of a crime wave run by foreign criminal gangs, many of whom have come to this country illegally and frankly should not be here. And we are seeing a flight from London, particularly of people who've got children. They are scared about their kids going out at night, going out at weekends. They're particularly scared if their children are female. And this is something that has happened under Sadiq's watch, that, the rise in knife crime, and much else. Both of the last two opportunities, Khan could have been beaten. But the Conservatives chose Sean Bailey, who tried on his own to fight a very good campaign, but got no support from the Central Conservative Party whatsoever. They then came up with Susan Hall, who, for all of her good qualities, certainly had not become a household name and wasn't in a position to take on Khan. He could have been beaten on both of those occasions. Well, we view what will happen on May the 7th in London as the precursor to us taking on Khan in 2027, and we're going to fight fully with the intention of winning the London mayoralty. Internationally, the reputation of London is collapsing. This once admired, historic, astonishing and extraordinary place is now being talked about around the world in increasingly disparaging terms. The fish does rot from the head down. We need to get rid of Khan. We need a new mayor of London. And today's press conference is about launching our candidate to stand for Mayor of London, but also the person that will be the face and the campaigning force around all 32 boroughs as we head in to those May the 7th elections. Layla Cunningham has already proven in her time with us as a party to be articulate, to be passionate, a mother, somebody who actually herself has had to effectively, in the absence of the police act as a police officer herself in defence of her children. And she, from this moment on, will be the head of Reform UK London, our candidate for the mayor next year, but the face of our campaign as we fight a strong, vigorous campaign in all 32 London boroughs in the run-up to May the 7th. Be in no doubt, we are taking May the 7th very, very seriously. Be in no doubt, if we can succeed across the United Kingdom on May the 7th, we are certain we will then go on to win the next general election. Let me introduce and welcome to the stage Layla Cunningham.
Good morning. As Nigel has said, today we are announcing that I'm standing to be the next Mayor of London. Now, I know that we're still 2.5 years away, but the election on May 7th is the first step. It's the first step to reclaiming our city. Now, these local elections, I tell everyone, will be a referendum on Sadiq Khan, on Labour's broken London. It's Londoners' chance to vote out every councillor who's propped him up and stayed silent while he's let our city down. From now until May, I will be spearheading our campaign, touring every borough, because for the first time in years, Londoners finally have a real alternative: reform. And unlike Labour or Tories, we won't defend a status quo that doesn't work for the voters. See, London is my home. It made me who I am. I was born and raised here. Discovered my passion for basketball here, in the courts, from Croydon to Brixton to Newham. I played in the London Youth Games, some of the best times of my life, and that's where I learned the importance of team spirit. I became a senior Crown prosecutor here, and I'm raising my 7 children here. And that's 7 reasons why I want to do this. I love this city with all my heart, but unlike some in this room, I'm not blind to what it's become. London, one of the greatest cities on earth, is no longer safe. And that didn't happen by accident. That happened on Sadiq Khan's watch. Let's just go through some stats. Knife crime in London is up 68% since 2016. Robbery is up by more than 50% during that same period. More than 100 phones are stolen every single year, and that's just those we know about. We are living, ladies and gentlemen, through a rape epidemic. You see, crime for me is not theoretical, like some of the journalists who say I'm scaremonging. My family has experienced it many times. In fact, one time, my kids were targeted by gangs in balaclavas, who people say don't exist. Day after day, near us, in broad daylight. We were all terrified. I turned to the police, naturally. I was told there were not enough resources. So I gathered the evidence myself. In fact, I just had a baby then. I put him in the carrier. I followed the gangs. I took photos, because they were all in balaclavas. Their shoes were very distinct. I protected my family when the state couldn't. The press called me vigilante mum, but I should never have been put in that position. There should have been backup, but there wasn't. There should have been leadership that cared, but there wasn't. And I had to risk my life, my baby's life, my family's life to protect my family. Enough. I speak to so many women in this city who don't feel safe. Why would they? There's no police, and hardly any rape offences are prosecuted. I speak to women who've been raped who have been told by the police, I'm sorry, there's not enough evidence. And we all know rape happens when no one sees. I speak to parents, like myself, who panic every time their child doesn't pick up the phone. I think, has he been stabbed? Has he got into a fight? Has my daughter been sexually harassed? And I do see masked gangs roam our streets. I saw it as a criminal prosecutor in the areas I went to, and I see it in my area. And they carry knives and behave as no one will stop them. And most of the time, sadly, in this city, no one does. See, Londoners like me have lost faith in the law. The social contract and the state has failed in its first duty to keep us safe. This is the London that Sadiq Khan has created. A city where criminals operate freely, where victims are sacrificed, ignored. People are scared. And Khan thinks it's enough to tweet platitudes, random stats. Because let's face it, Khan never accepts responsibility. No, he attacks anyone who says London's dangerous. He calls them far right. racist. He ludicrously says that criticism of his record is because he's Muslim, and we are all Islamophobic. Frankly, it's an insult to victims and to Londoners. Londoners are scared because most of us, let's face it, have been victims of crime or know someone who has, and we're scared because London is more dangerous. Just look at what happened on Edgware Road this week. 3 young men stabbed. This is life now in London. It's not even surprising. This is what families fear every day for their sons when they leave their house. I've got 3 teenage boys. It's what I fear. A city where criminals just operate brazenly. Why not? There's no visible policing. Yet he keeps telling us his fight against crime is working. Let's have a recap of his greatest hits, shall we, in his so-called fight against crime. Police stations and public counters closed. Visible policing cut. Stop and search halved. And as violent crime rose, guess what he did? He chose to create specialist Met police squads to monitor hate speech. Officers diverted and tasked with policing language. Honestly, you couldn't make it up. And thanks to Khan, a massive vacuum on our streets, power vacuum, that was filled by criminals. And listen, crime doesn't stop with the victim. It's corrosive. It rips through the economy. Shops close. High streets die. I speak to people who don't want to invest here. Investment goes elsewhere because who the hell wants to build a future in a city where the police just don't show up? And the consistent message from Khan is, it's not my problem. It's not my fault. He treats City Hall like his own kingdom, waving through pet projects or jetting off to faraway lands on our expense. He rewards cronies with 6-figure salaries while ordinary Londoners can't pay their bills. But Londoners need to know that the state of law and order in our city is his fault. He is the London's Police and Crime Commissioner. He appoints the Met Commissioner. He sets the priorities, the direction. He signs off on the budget. He is in charge. So Londoners, I have a different message. Safety for Londoners is the first duty of any mayor, and it will be my first duty as Mayor of London. And that means visible policing. Zero tolerance for crime, real consequences. There'll be a new sheriff in town, and I'll be launching an all-out war on crime. I will set clear, high-level priorities for the Met to focus on tackling knife crime, drugs, robbery, shoplifting, rape. And I will task the Met Police with targeting, hunting, and prosecuting rape gangs in London. There will be nowhere for them to hide. And as mayor, I will ensure there is a serious reckoning for those who have failed those victims and those who have failed this city. Speaking of the latter, TfL. Time and time again, London has been held to ransom because the mayor won't stand up to his union paymasters. He serves them before he serves us. And under me, that ends. And if it means automating the trains, then that's exactly what I'll do, train by train. Every part of life in London is getting more expensive. And still, he keeps punishing people for driving to work. ULEZ isn't about quality of air or air quality. It's about cash and control. He knew it would hit working Londoners the hardest. He just didn't care. He just wanted to be some kind of international eco-warrior. Working people have been fined, tracked, and taxed simply for driving to work. I was speaking to parents simply for taking their children to school, simply for caring for elderly relatives. Carers, tradesmen, small business owners have been treated like the problem, while violent offenders walk the streets. Not only walk the streets, own the streets. Under my watch, that will stop. I will end the war on motorists. And to all you Londoners stuck in traffic, I will get London moving again. And I want to say something about the city I love, about London itself. When I was growing up, London was the place to live, the place to work, the place to build a life. People envied those that lived here. Now they pity us. They say, ooh, London's a bit too dangerous for me. People were proud to say they were Londoners. We said it with warmth, with belonging. Sadly, today I speak to so many people who are leaving. So many families who are moving out because they fear for their kids, because their kids have repeatedly been mugged, targeted. To businesses who are shutting down because they can't afford the shoplifting. investors who are going elsewhere. Sadly, our young people that I speak to no longer dream of moving to London. They're scared of it. They see young men are stabbed for their watches or jackets in broad daylight. That's not normal, but we're told to accept it. But for me, it will never, ever be acceptable. Now imagine the reverse. Imagine London safe again. Imagine pride again. Imagine the capital city of the United Kingdom, restored to its former glory. Strong, confident, prosperous, and secure. This is the London I believe in, and that is the London I will fight for. A London where our flag will be flown proudly across the city as a symbol of unity, belonging, and as a symbol of our British pride. This city made me who I am.
That press conference now, Nigel Farage has just announced that Layla Cunningham will be the Reform candidate for the London mayoral elections. And of course, we are in an election year with the May local elections coming up this year. So we will remind you that we're covering every party's pledges over the coming weeks.
I mean, a lot have been cancelled, but they will still be going ahead in London. They'll be going ahead in Wales and Scotland. And Nigel Farage has told us that the West Sussex and East Sussex Tory leaders have asked for their elections to be suspended. Perhaps that's because they thought they were going to lose to Reform.
Possibly, who knows? Well, let's bring in our panel.
Stephen Pound, former Labour MP. So, interesting choice of Layla Cunningham. She's already a Westminster councillor. She's a Muslim. She's a KC. She's a mother of 7 children, and I've sat next to her at lunch once or twice. She looks pretty amazing. You can't tell she's had 7 kids. She's in great shape.
Well, no, I'm not entirely sure that that's the yardstick by which we judge our politicians. But I think she was a Tory.
Having a Muslim on the ticket.
Oh, of course. There's a come on.
Like London.
There's a good element of box ticking there. But she's certainly very, very articulate. There's no question at all about that. But I think it's quite interesting the way that she's actually appeared. She's been anointed as the Reform candidate. There's no democracy in Reform. Basically, she's been chosen. So, I mean, even the Labour Party, the dear old Labour Party, we have some element of democracy. And
why would you want democracy? If the man leading the party says, I've got the ideal candidate to represent me and represent our views, and he's had a chat with them for half an hour and he's convinced he's right, I say go for it. Why would you have a long selection process?
I think that's probably where Donald Trump has always been a great admirer of Mike Perry.
Maybe, but I can't understand the selection process because you need a single-minded point of view as to what you're going to do. And by the way, the opener from both this lady, Layla Cunningham, and Nigel Farage, to remind us that Sadiq Khan could take a 4th term in London. There'll be nothing left of London after 4 terms of Sadiq Khan. So now we realise how utterly important it is to look for another candidate and look for an alternative to Khan because he's ruining the greatest country in the greatest city in the world.
I was on the committee that actually set up...
Does he think he's Vladimir Putin? I mean, how many more terms is he going to do?
Well, Vladimir Putin actually stepped down and then stepped back up again.
Well, he was only 6th term.
But not as president, because he was prime minister.
No, but he put a puppet in and he was still president.
No, I mean, we suggested...
Stephen, let me ask you, do you not think 3 terms is enough of any politician as the boss?
In terms of parliamentary seats...
Yes or no?
Yeah. I can't
say 3 terms enough for Mayor of London, for the Mayor of Scotland.
Yes, 3. Yes, but the thing is that MPs and seats, because the idea you have 3 terms.
I mean about as a mayor of figure, he's got the 2nd biggest mandate in the country. After the Prime Minister.
He's got the biggest mandate in Europe, actually. His personal mandate. But we did suggest this back on the committee in the day. And I remember Ken Livingstone, who was actually on the committee in those days, was saying, no, I don't know. I think they can go on as long as they can stand.
Yeah, but the damage is incalculable. Why do you think there's only 2 terms in the United States? Because Franklin D. Roosevelt was on his 4th, and people kept saying we can't have any more of this, so they reduced it to 2, and it should be 2 for the mayor, because one man's view cannot always be right. Things are going to go wrong. It should be challenged consistently, and he should not be allowed to go on and on and on. But my eyes have been opened, and I hope millions of other people's eyes have been opened just by this presentation of who the Reform candidate's going to be and the absolute serious need for change. It should get us all going, because normally speaking, what happens in London is that people are indifferent to voting, aren't they? It's very, very hard to rally the vote in London, particularly on the non-left side. But Reform now, on behalf of every other candidate except Sadiq Khan, have got to keep banging the drum and saying, look, this is the problem. Lady Cunningham issued the statistics at the start of her speech. Knife crime up 60%, robberies up 50%.
Murders down 70%.
We can't go on with these sort of crime figures and expect London to recover from the appalling state it's in at the moment.
Well, Mike, Roosevelt won his fourth term and he died in office.
Yes,
which is why
he did.
Vice President Truman...
And as soon as he died, they changed the rules. Exactly.
Fair enough, but don't forget, he won that election. But look, to actually say that London is descending into some dystopian hellhole with dinosaurs...
well, I think it is.
I'm sorry. Look, murders are down. There's never been a lower level of murder in London since they've had...
What about teenage knife...
Is that the best you can offer for...
Yeah.
Well, no. Well, hang on a second.
And the trauma surgery has become so successful.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, knife crime is way out of control.
Yeah, what about teenage knife murder, for instance?
What about the Elizabeth line?
What about
the school meals? You know, what about the improvements? I mean, stop talking London down.
Lying down to Sadiq Khan.
Yeah. Probably not, no.
Why are you...
Not everything. Because we're talking about London. Mike's talking about London as the greatest city being ruined and destroyed.
I am. Stephen, I'm not talking London down. If I cannot wear... I am not. I'm trying to represent the facts of the situation living in the capital. If I cannot walk through the West End of London wearing my Rolex watch, then my liberty, my freedom, my security, my safety is absolutely zero. Absolutely zero. Of course you would. Of course you would. I can't in London go outside Harrods and pull out my mobile phone and start talking to somebody because of the worry that somebody's going to drive past and steal my phone. That is a constant in London.
Well, I'm sorry, I'm not going to lie awake at night worrying about people who can't wear Rolexes through Mayfair at 3 o'clock. I'm
sorry. Of course you should.
I'm sorry. I'm much more concerned about the general level of crime in London. Don't forget that mobile phone snatching has gone down massively.
Oh, really? You mean from a huge peak it's gone down a bit? Well, that's nice to know.
We didn't have mobile phones 20 years ago. Of course there's been a peak.
What planet are you on?
What I'm saying is that there are things in London which could be a damn sight better, no question about that, but there are things which are better and are extremely good.
What do we think about Nigel Farage's statement that if Reform can win London in the Assembly elections in May, then that puts them on course to win the general election? I mean, London has been very difficult for right-wing parties to win for some time.
Well, I think that was an indication of what the last Tory government didn't do, because I was always convinced that if they could win London, they could have then spread that out across the country and spread the Tory word. But for some inexplicable reason, they refused to get behind the two candidates that could have won, as Nigel Farage has said. Why in Tory central office, Stephen might know the answer to this, did they sit back and say, oh, that guy's running for us in London, almost as if it was another party, almost as if it was another country? Well, I don't think we'll put much behind him on a national scale, will we? Why did Sean Bailey? Why did they not want to win?
Actually did extremely well.
Exactly.
If they got behind him, he could have won. Susan Hall, who was the candidate last night...
She was not the strongest candidate.
No, but she was a decent woman and well-meaning. She wasn't even given a platform at Conservative Party conference.
No, I couldn't.
Shameful.
Well, I think the reality is, you remember, the GLC used to be the inner London, it used to be inner London, and then it was expanded to bring in Hillingdon and to bring in Romford, which the idea was to actually kill the Labour monopoly on central London. At the moment, at the next election, Reform do have a chance, maybe in some Bexley, Bromley, places like that. But they will...
Romford.
Yeah, I agree, but they cannot... I have to say, it would take an absolute earthquake for them to win London. However, maybe we're in earthquake territory.
I think we might be.
Susan Hall called out Sadiq Khan over rape gangs in London, didn't she?
She did.
And that, to me, was an indication how effective she could have been.
She was a very effective communicator.
As a London mayor, and yet the National Party, probably because it was stuff full of Lib Dems rather than true Conservatives, the National Conservative Party, simply didn't get behind it, did they?
It's a role for somebody who's more than just good at communicating and asking the right question. You are running a city.
Yes.
Is that one of the biggest cities in the world, one of the most...
You're in charge of transport, crime.
That's right.
Exactly.
What was quite surprising is that Boris Johnson, who was perhaps not the most successful Prime Minister, was quite a successful mayor because of the people who he chose to run the different departments.
And he made some catastrophic... I'm closing down the police stations, it's actually catastrophic.
Well,
I'm sorry, but I spoke to a very senior Tory about Susan Hall at the time, and because basically she's from my part of the world, and he said, oh, basically she's a hairdresser from Harrow. And I thought, you con condescending.
Yeah, exactly. Hairdressers from Harrow.
But what's wrong with hairdressers?
I was about to say, hairdressers from Harrow know a lot more about what's going on the streets of London than some benighted, you know,
this was a very senior former Tory cabinet.
No, there was a lot of snooty derision about her. Yeah. It was appalling. So 4 terms for Sadiq Khan. Our very own Vladimir Putin. I'm just thinking the turnout last time was 40%. That is shameful. London mayoral election. 40%.
And you know full well that of that 40%, the vast majority of it are with Sadiq Khan because he targets what you might call his people.
The Muslim vote.
Exactly, and doesn't care about anything else.
Well,
I hate the way...
I'm not going to take that. I'm not going to let you
Well, I'm sorry, he does. Of course he does.
Of course he doesn't. Give me one example. Give me one example of Sadiq Khan giving things to the Muslim voters that he doesn't give to
well,
the rest.
hang on.
Give me one example.
Well, hang on, Stephen.
Give me one example.
I'll give you an example of how he... Excuse me, of how he promotes the values that he cares for. If you look at the roster of people... No, I'm not. You look at the roster of people employed by an organisation called TfL, Transport for London, and you will see that there are a lot of people in very high positions paid over £100,000 a year who you would call his people. That's how he promotes his own views and his own way of doing things in London.
Mike,
I'm sorry, but it is not outrageous.
Are you suggesting that he's actually stuffing TfL with people of a Muslim background?
I haven't said that. I've said of people who think like him. I've said his
one simple question. Give me one example of something which he's actually giving to what you call his people that isn't available for the rest of the people in London.
I've already explained how I have how he
bottled it.
I have not bottled it. I've told you that the way he runs London is to have like-thinking people like him in very senior positions right across the network of what London's all about. Transport, for instance. He wants
making political appointments.
Excuse me.
What do you think Boris Johnson did?
Transport in London is diabolical. You can't get anywhere because the roads are...
It's never been as good as it is.
Rubbish.
It's never been as good.
Rubbish.
I'm sorry.
Rubbish. The narrow roads in London, you've got bus lanes, you've got cycle lanes, you've got a little bit of room for cars. It takes twice as long to get across the
Elizabeth line, you've got the Superloop.
Also...
There's never been so many buses on the streets of London.
Also...
But they don't go anywhere because the traffic, it is gridlock.
I'm sorry, it is not gridlock.
Exactly.
20 mile an hour speed limit. The average speed of the car in London, Stephen, in central London is between 2 to 4 miles an hour. You can walk quicker. I'm just looking, by the way, at Sadiq Khan's senior staff. His latest senior member of staff, Nadeem Javid, MBE, Mayoral Director, Global Relations and Communities, earning £150,000 a year. His top team's bill, salary bill, is £2.4 million. He now has 9 deputy mayors, 2 chief of staffs, 4 mayoral directors and 5 special advisors.
Incredible.
I'm sorry. We don't need all that.
Utterly incredible. Utterly ridiculous.
But it is one of the biggest cities in the world, and we live in a democracy. If people vote for Sadiq Khan, he can appoint who he wants. Vote him out.
Boris Johnson had exactly that same...
Under a proper Prime Minister of this country, London ran without a mayor. In fact, Mrs Thatcher closed down the London County Council altogether and said we don't need one. London can run itself, and London can run itself because of the dynamism of its economy. But now all these people are stopping the dynamism of London. Stopping it. I mean, by the way, Sadiq Khan is not that keen on pubs, is he? You can tell from the way that pubs in London struggle to survive, struggle under increasing rates and taxes.
Mike, you're away with the flipping fairies.
No, I'm not.
Are you saying he's got an anti-alcohol agenda? Are you saying because of his Muslim background he wants to close down pubs?
I've not said that at all. You're putting words in my mouth again. What I'm saying
needs to put some words in
no.
your mouth.
He does not promote the nightlife of London in the way he should. He does not. You can't get any. You can't drink anywhere in London after about midnight unless you go to a very expensive, very exclusive private club. And the pubs in London should be open till 2 and 3 in the morning in places like Soho, and that should be enabled by having a tax regime, so lower business rates, to make them profitable. That's what should be going on. London should be a vibrant city, but at night it's dead. Ask anybody, it's dead.
Well, I'm not sure about all-night pubs are the answer, to be perfectly honest.
I didn't say that. I said 2 or 3 in the morning. That's not all night.
Well,
so what experience does Leila Cunningham have then of running things?
Well, she was a Conservative councillor in Westminster.
And she's been a Crown prosecutor.
Crown prosecutor. But she's never been an administrator. But I think it's a clever appointment. It's a woman, Muslim, KC.
It's certainly better than Zach Goldsmith.
Good speaker. And the Conservatives, as I'm aware, haven't chosen a candidate.
No, that's true.
But the election's
not. Yes, exactly.
We've got a big years to
I
go.
think they're trying to. I assume she will also stand for the London Assembly, so
Yes.
she will be up for election in May. But as an Assembly member, and then that potentially, if she were to win a seat,
then
she would have a
Oh,
platform.
it'll be a springboard, yeah. It's interesting listening to Nigel Farage there. I mean, Nigel, as you probably know, Keir Starmer's talking about the 3 E's that the Labour Party needs: emotion and evidence. He's got emotion, he's got empathy, and he's actually, I think he may be peaking too soon. It's 5 months for the May elections. Do we really want to start talking about the May elections now?
Well, good
Keir
point.
Starmer talking about emotion. He's an emotion-free zone.
Well,
but he's identified that.
Thank you to our panel.
Yeah.
Don't go away,
They will
because
be
coming
back.
up next, it's freezing out there. We've got another storm coming in. We'll have all the latest nanny state alert details in just a moment.
Why is it
Britain's
called
Newsroom
Galetti?
On GB News.
Hi there and welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. Lots of interesting weather to talk about at the moment, and it's another cold and icy start for many of us this morning. Dry and bright though for most through the day. Still some showers around. Early doors, a few showers coming into parts of Wales, the west of England. Showers also continuing across the north of Scotland, northeast England. And we're going to see a mix of rain and sleet around the coast, sleet and snow inland. So further snow accumulations, but possibly not quite as many snow accumulations for northern Scotland compared with recent days. For many, it's a dry and bright day with sunny spells, but a cold feel, windier compared with the start of the week. So temperatures of 3 to 6 Celsius, feeling rather cold. Now, we're going to end the day with clear spells for much of central Scotland, further showers coming into the north and northeast of Scotland, 1 or 2 showers drifting into the southeast of Scotland, northeast England as well. Northern Ireland, though, by this time, we'll see an area of cloud thickening up and some outbreaks of mostly rain, but some snow over hills moving in. This is light rain. It's going to push into Pembrokeshire, Devon, Cornwall as well at this stage. As it moves east, it will tend to fizzle away. It does contain slightly milder air, so mostly this is going to be rain rather than snow. And it tends to push a lot of cloud in across the UK. So less frosty, less icy on Thursday morning, but still some slippery surfaces to wake up to, particularly towards the east. And we'll see some brightness towards the southwest, but for most it's a grey start to the day with bits and pieces of rain or sleet around first thing. They tend to dry up and then brighter skies turn up in the east, whilst the next band of rain turns up in the southwest. Now this is Storm Goretti. This has been named by Météo France because of very strong winds expected over northern France. It will bring strong winds to the southwest, but it's also going to bring a risk of snow to Wales, the Midlands and East Anglia.
Thank you, Britain, for making GB News Radio such a huge success. Whether you're in the car, on the go or listening at home, thank you for choosing us as your radio station.
Good morning, this is the latest AI travel news from gbnews.com. In Scotland, the A93 is closed at the Snowgate at Spittal of Glenshie due to adverse weather. In Yorkshire, the M1 northbound at junction 46 has 2 of 3 lanes closed, improving after 11. In Kent, the M26 eastbound exit slip at junction 2A is shut after a collision, may clear after 11:15. In Devon, the A38 westbound has 1 lane closed between the A385 and the A374 near Plymouth after an incident. And on the trains, Elna says do not travel between Edinburgh and Aberdeen, while Cross Country reports disruption there and between Doncaster and Sheffield. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Welcome back. It's coming up to 11:15. You're watching and listening to Britain's Newsroom.
Well, we've been blasted with that big freeze. It's January after all. Temperatures have plummeted in some areas to as low as minus 12.5 degrees.
What's that in Fahrenheit?
Don't know. Going to work it out, though.
I thought you only dealt in imperial.
I do.
We'll have to find out. Well, Storm Goretti has smothered cities and villages across the UK, with some areas 8 inches deep in snow, and the drop in temperature has triggered cold weather payments from the government for hundreds of thousands of households. But will that be enough?
It's 9.5 degrees out there.
Wow, in Fahrenheit.
Yeah.
Gosh.
That is cold.
That is cold.
And somebody's probably very cold, although last time we saw him, he was supping on his vegetable soup. It's our very own national news reporter, Jack Carson, who's in Stoke-on-Trent. Was it vegetable soup, Jack?
It was cream of tomato soup, Andrew, and it was absolutely delicious. Let me tell you, in these temperatures, it didn't last very long at all, straight down to warm the cockles up. But here we are in Stoke, and now the snow, not really any snowfall overnight here, but you can still see it's been quite stubborn, still plenty on the ground here. But what has been in place since this overnight into this morning has been the Met Office yellow weather warning for ice. That's all the sludge that's been torn up by all the cars, and all this kind of standing ice left has turned quite slippery overnight, which is what the conditions certainly here in the Midlands are being dealt with. We know it's a lot worse elsewhere in different parts of the country. Aberdeenshire Council had to declare a major incident. We know that their staff are helping clear snow and get supplies to people that might be stuck due to this snow. 400 schools have had to remain closed in Aberdeenshire and in Scotland, in the north and the northwest parts, of course, of those highlands. Here in England yesterday, 1,000 schools had to close. In Staffordshire, it was 85 schools. Thankfully, all but 2 have been able to reopen today, but the 2 that have remained closed, again, citing the dangerous conditions around those schools with ice and other weather factors, meaning that it was too dangerous to get those kids and reopen those schools this morning. So that we are still suffering with school closures here in this part of the region, in part of the Midlands. But as the yellow weather warning for ice ended at 10 o'clock this morning from the Met Office, another one comes into effect from tomorrow into Friday. That is a yellow weather warning for snow. You rightly say that this is Storm Goretti. It's the first named storm this year from the French forecasters coming over the channel. And when it does that in the next couple of days, it's going to undergo what's called a weather bomb, which is essentially where the pressure drops by 24 millibars in 24 hours. That could then cause winds and that snow to fall in the Midlands. 5 to 10 centimetres deep, we believe it's going to be over the next 24 to 48 hours, particularly hitting this part of the Midlands, but further south and also into Wales as well. We know that is automatically going to cause some disruption on the roads in Lincolnshire. The London North Western Railway, Eastern Railway service had to have some delays over the past few days because of snow. Already today, Eurostar services into Europe, into Rotterdam and different parts of the Netherlands, they have had to be cancelled today because of weather in Europe. And so this storm is affecting travel both here and trying to get abroad as well. So schools able to open a bit more easily here in England, but that's only really for today. Looking into tomorrow and particularly into Friday, where the Midlands could be hit again, that's where we could start to get a bit more some disruption. There is an amber cold alert from the UK Health and Security Agency, of course, the usual precautions to make sure you're keeping warm to take yourself through the next kind of 48 hours. But of course, here in Staffordshire, that snow still remaining quite stubborn as these icy conditions continue. According to my weather app, at least, it feels like -6 here.
All right, Jack, we'll stay warm. That's Jack Cunningham in...
No, Jack Carson.
We've just talked about Layla Cohen. Jack Carson, who's in Stoke-on-Trent. I hope that was hind soup you were drinking, Jack.
Pardon?
I hope that was hind soup you were drinking.
It was.
Too.
Other soups are available.
Yes.
Thank you, Jack.
Nothing beats Heinz tomato soup. It is a national treasure.
It is, especially in the winter. It's wonderful.
Don't you think?
Oh, absolutely. Completely agree. I want to go sledging now.
I've seen a child in her.
I know. Well, I grew up in Sheffield, which is hills everywhere, so whenever there's a tiny bit of snow, you can get some speed up.
Now, up next, more reaction to Reform UK, which has announced, quick out the blocks, Layla Cunningham, KC, she's a high-powered lawyer, is the candidate to be London Mayor, taking on Sadiq Khan, who has announced he is going to run for can you believe this, 4th term.
But first, if you're not a keen sledger and you want instead some holiday sun, here's the forecast for some of our top European destinations.
I forecast a perfect holiday in the sun.
Weather looking good then?
For sure, and no worries about our travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
Whilst we've seen the cold weather affect the UK and much of Western Europe, it's turning less cold in Iberia now, whilst it's increasingly unsettled across southeastern parts of Europe, especially Greece and Turkey, where we'll see strong winds and heavy rain moving through during Thursday and Friday. Italy's on the cold side, temperatures a few degrees below average. Meanwhile, temperatures have now recovered for Spain and Portugal, back up to the double figures or the teens in places.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
No matter the state it's in, this is our nation. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for a genuine, honest discussion on where we have been, where we are going, and where we are with the people who set the direction. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Only on GB News.
Bold. They are under no illusion. Ray. Are you a human trafficker? Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Don't get us on the BBC.
Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines. The smell of gasoline. Should we be worried about it? From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos. What we're going to do now is they are throwing things out the car as we speak. Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie's tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
No,
Because the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m, only on GB News.
Welcome back. It's 8 minutes to 11. You're watching and listening to Britain's Newsroom on GB News.
Time for the British giveaway, isn't it? Or you going to read out some views?
I think I was just going to read a few
Please do.
comments, because lots of people commenting about the Reform press conference that's still ongoing, where Layla Cunningham has been announced as Reform UK's mayoral candidate for the London mayoral elections. Carol says a strong woman is definitely what London needs. There hasn't been a London mayor that's female before, has there, I think?
No.
And Gillian says, brilliant that Layla is standing for London mayor. Both Khan and Starmer should be quaking in their boots. Mrs B says she's British with British values, and that's what matters.
Yeah. I did say, by the way, earlier that she was a KC, used to be called a Queen's Counsel, now King's Counsel, because we have a monarch. I misled you. She's not that senior a lawyer, but she is a senior Crown prosecutor.
I believe so.
That's
and a councillor, isn't she?
And a councillor in Westminster. And interestingly, she's a mum of 7 kids.
I know,
Quite
extraordinary.
something.
I think they range from in their 20s down to primary school age.
Yeah, she's got one. She's certainly got at least 1 or 2 at home. I've met her a few times. She's very, very engaging. And I think she's a very clever choice for Reform.
Yes, and it'd be interesting to see whether Sadiq Khan makes any comments about it. And as you said, the Conservatives are nowhere near choosing their candidate. Yeah, of course, a long time to go to the election, but I think the thinking behind this will be that she will need to stand in the London Assembly elections in May. That would give her a platform if she were to be elected. I wonder which borough they would choose, which is most likely for Reform to win this year.
I would think it would be down south in the sort of Bromley area. I would have thought. And also, this must be the best chance to get rid of Sadiq Khan, if that's how you feel. I certainly hope we get rid of him, because he'll be on his 4th term. Labour will be deeply unpopular in the polls nationally by 2028, when this poll takes place, because we'll be 4 years into a government led by Labour, but probably not by Starmer, in my view. I think they'll have dumped him. So the Tories need to pick a really strong candidate too.
But then we could see some vote splitting on the right between Reform and Conservatives, but also on the left. I imagine the Green Party will do pretty well in London next time. So who knows? It's a while away. It might be unpredictable. But we will be returning to that press conference.
Just imagine a 4th term of Sadiq Khan.
Well, don't go anywhere, because the Prime Minister has pledged to put British troops on the ground in Ukraine if a peace deal is reached. This is Britain's Newsroom on GB News.
Today, clouds overhead, total zen within. Boxed Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hi there and welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. Lots of interesting weather to talk about at the moment, and it's another cold and icy start for many of us this morning. Dry and bright though for most through the day, still some showers around. Early doors, a few showers coming into parts of Wales, the west of England. Showers also continuing across the north of Scotland, northeast England. And we're going to see a mix of rain and sleet around the coast, sleet and snow inland. So further snow accumulations, but possibly not quite as many snow accumulations for northern Scotland compared with recent days. For many, it's a dry and bright day with sunny spells, but a cold feel, windier compared with the start of the week. So temperatures of 3 to 6 Celsius, feeling rather cold. Now, we're going to end the day with clear spells for much of central Scotland, further showers coming into the north and northeast of Scotland, 1 or 2 showers drifting into the southeast of Scotland, northeast England as well. Northern Ireland, though, by this time, we'll see an area of cloud thickening up and some outbreaks of mostly rain, but some snow over hills moving in. This is light rain. It's going to push into Pembrokeshire, Devon, Cornwall as well at this stage. As it moves east, it will tend to fizzle away. It does contain slightly milder air, so mostly this is going to be rain rather than snow. And it tends to push a lot of cloud in across the UK. So less frosty, less icy on Thursday morning, but still some slippery surfaces to wake up to, particularly towards the east. And we'll see some brightness towards the southwest, but for most it's a grey start to the day with bits and pieces of rain or sleet around first thing. They tend to dry up and then brighter skies turn up in the east, whilst the next band of rain turns up in the southwest. Now this is Storm Goretti. This has been named by Météo France because of very strong winds expected over northern France. It will bring strong winds to the southwest, but it's also going to bring a risk of snow to Wales, the Midlands and East Anglia.
Today, clouds overhead, total zen within. Boxed Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
It's a brand new year and we're giving you the chance to win our biggest cash prize to date.
£85,000 in tax-free cash could be yours.
And we've come to the Aurora Collection Resort here in Lapland to celebrate.
An incredible £85,000 in tax-free cash could be yours.
For another chance to win £85,000 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus 1 standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus 1 standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB18 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 30th of January. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions. But every Friday night at 9 p.m, you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/your say. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/your say, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, though.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
11 o'clock on Wednesday, the 7th of January, live across the UK. Britain's Newsroom with Andrew Pearce and Miriam Cates.
Well, some breaking news. Reform UK leader Nigel Farage has announced that Layla Cunningham will be the party's London mayoral candidate, confirming that she will challenge Sadiq Khan in the upcoming local elections as well.
I love this city with all my heart, but unlike some in this room, I'm not blind to what it's become. London, one of the greatest cities on earth, is no longer safe.
And Donald Trump is not backing down and is considering military force to take Greenland, despite the pleas from European leaders not to do so.
We signed a declaration of intent on the deployment of forces to Ukraine in the event of a peace deal.
The Prime Minister agrees with the French that soldiers will be deployed in Eastern Europe if there's a peace deal with Russia. But how would you feel about British boots on the ground?
And I don't think we should have to ask specifically for every single piece of information if you have things that you could give us that would assist us in this process.
We have individual intelligence reports from people who live locally, but also some open source intelligence reports.
Tory leader Kemi Badenoch is leading the charge, demanding the resignation or sacking of the West Midlands Police Chief Constable Craig Guilford, who banned Israeli football fans from that Aston Villa match in November. And he did so to keep these people in Birmingham safe.
We should not show mercy, but what does that mean? They are not welcome here today. They are not welcome to Aston.
It's icy out there as Britain undergoes a big freeze. Schools are closed, there's travel chaos, and Storm Goretti is incoming with 20 centimetres worth of snow. That's about 8 inches for you, Andrew.
Road safety revolution. Drivers could be limited to 1 point or even less in England and Wales under a tightening of drink driving laws, but that could be problematic, especially for our rural pubs.
And Kemi Badenoch will be taking on the Prime Minister at Prime Minister's Questions from midday. We'll have all the build-up. That's not the Prime Minister.
Might be sick. Who was that man?
It was a good photo bomb. Somebody setting up a camera.
I think it's a camera waiting for the Prime Minister, because this is the first Prime Minister's Questions of the year. And yesterday we had the Prime Minister unusually inviting the cameras into Cabinet. It's what they call a political cabinet. Civil servants aren't there. We talked to him about his political aims and objectives. And Miriam, it was so dispiriting. You'd think, talking to his cabinet colleagues about priorities for the year ahead, he'd have some fire in his belly and really fears about what he was going to do in the year ahead. Instead, he read from prepared notes. And what didn't he mention? Immigration.
Interesting.
Wouldn't you think that is a priority for this government?
Yeah.
Bringing down illegal migration and tackling the wretched small boats. Not
absolutely.
a word, nothing to say.
Well, I imagine the weather will be helping them out with that slightly at the moment.
Certainly will.
But, I mean, we're only on the 7th of January, Andrew, 7 days in, and think about what's already happened this year in the international events. The problem is that Britain and Europe seem increasingly irrelevant, and we see these pictures of Starmer and Macron trying to seem like they're powerful on the world stage, but they're just words. The US isn't listening to us. China and Russia aren't interested in what we're doing. Without military strength and the willingness to use it, what's the point? It's just words.
Within hours of that joint communique from all those European leaders being issued about Greenland, leave it alone, Donald Trump, his press secretary said on air that the president, she'd called him the chief, the commander-in-chief, was considering all military options. So they're not listening to a word the Europeans are saying at the moment.
And I think looking back over the last 4 years, the things really changed, didn't they, when Putin invaded Ukraine, because that was a test of the West's strength. And I think looking back, although it's understandable why we offered Ukraine support, and of course we should offer Ukraine support, they were invaded by an evil tyrant, but we've given them enough weapons and money to keep fighting, but nowhere near enough to win. They're in a far worse position than they were 4 years ago. Tens of thousands, perhaps hundreds of thousands of people are died. If we were never willing to join the fight, should we have been stringing them along? I think there'll be a lot of questions about that in the future.
Let us know, of course, about what you think on all your talking points today. But first, here's the news with Tatiana Sanchez.
Thank you very much. The top stories this hour. Nigel Farage has announced that Layla Cunningham will be Reform UK's candidate for the next London mayoral elections and the party's campaign figurehead in the capital for upcoming local elections. The Reform UK leader made the announcement standing in front of banners which read "London needs reform" at a central London press conference today. Mr Farage described May's local and devolved elections as the single most significant set of electoral tests in this country between now and the general election. He also said he would announce the leader of Reform UK Scotland at an upcoming press conference in Edinburgh next week. Reform UK's Layla Cunningham said local elections in May is the first step to reclaiming the city in the 2028 London mayoral elections after she was announced as the party's candidate to take on Sadiq Khan. Some breaking news this hour. A major supplier of small boats and engines believed to be used in thousands of channel crossings to the UK has been jailed for 11 years and fined more than £346,000. 45-year-old Turkish national Adem Savas was arrested after arriving in Schiphol Airport in Amsterdam in November of 2024 and stood trial in Bruges in Belgium. He was accused of supplying engines and boats to people smugglers, shipping the boats from Turkey and storing them in Germany until they were transported to northern France. The NCA believe in 2023 Savas will have supplied equipment used in around half of all channel crossings, making him the agency's most wanted man as a key player in European people smuggling circles. 3 other defendants were sentenced to 12 and 13 years in prison, and their arrest has been ordered. Elsewhere, the UK, Ukraine and France have signed a declaration of intent to deploy forces to Kyiv in the event of a peace deal. Washington is promising to act as a backstop in case of any Russian aggression. Moscow has not yet commented on the announcements. Here's what the Prime Minister, Sir Keir Starmer, said at the Coalition of the Willing meeting.
Alongside President Zelensky and President Macron, we went even further today. We signed a declaration of intent on the deployment of forces to Ukraine in the event of a peace deal. Following a ceasefire, the UK and France will establish military hubs across Ukraine and build protected facilities for weapons and military equipment to support Ukraine's defensive needs.
Shadow Justice Minister Kieran Mullen spoke to GB News this morning about troops being deployed.
Ukraine's national security and the war it's fighting against Russia, and it's in all of our interests for them to succeed. So of course we will be sympathetic to whatever we can do to maintain its border security if there is a deal. But of course committing troops, putting them in potentially the firing line is one of the most serious things a government can do, and of course an opposition should be very, very careful about giving any support for that. We'd want to see the exact details of not just what Britain may well be committed to, but what other allies, particularly America, what they signed up to do. I don't think it would be a credible deterrent to Russia if America aren't involved. So, yeah, we're not going to give a yes at this stage. We'll have to look very, very carefully at it.
Meanwhile, Donald Trump threatened to use military force to take over Greenland, claiming the move is necessary to ensure national security. European leaders and the Greenland Prime Minister have issued warnings to the US President after he doubled down on his threats to take the territory. Sir Ben Wallace, a former Defence Secretary, said if Donald Trump were to attack Denmark, then it would signal the demise of a large part of NATO. The US President has been vocal about his desire to annex the self-governing island, despite it being part of Denmark, a NATO ally.
We need Greenland from a national security situation. It's so strategic. Right now, Greenland is covered with Russian and Chinese ships all over the place. We need Greenland.
In other news, learner drivers in England and Wales could face a minimum period of up to 6 months between sitting their theory and practical tests. The government will unveil the measures as part of its wider road safety strategy launched today. The government believes a minimum period between sitting the theory test and the practical test would help learner drivers develop their skills, including driving in different conditions. The measures include proposals for a lower drink driving limit in England and Wales to bring them in line with Scotland. It's all aimed at reducing the number of people killed or badly injured on Britain's roads by 65% over the next decade. Transport Minister Lillian Greenwood says plans to tighten the drink drive limit are not aimed at stopping people enjoying a great night out.
Setting targets for a 65% reduction in the number of those killed and seriously injured on our roads by 2035, and an even higher target of 70% for children. And in order to do that, we're setting out a wide range of measures that tackle the things that we know cause risk on our roads. People who can't see properly, young drivers who are inexperienced, people who break the law by driving after they've had a drink or taken drugs. We think this is a sensible set of measures.
And Britain's first named storm of the year is set to strike this week, bringing heavy snow and strong winds as the New Year cold snap continues to bite. It's been named as Storm Goretti. The south of the UK is expected to be most heavily affected on Thursday and Friday. The UK Health Security Agency extended its amber cold health alerts across England until midday on Sunday. 3 yellow warnings are in effect today for snow and ice. And those are the latest headlines for now. More in half an hour.
Cheers Britannia Wine Club proudly sponsors the GBNews financial report.
Here's a quick snapshot of the markets. The pound will buy you $1.3494 and €1.1549. The price of gold is £3,308.84 per ounce, and the FTSE 100 is at 10,068 points.
Cheers Britannia Wine Club proudly sponsors the GBNews financial report.
Hello, welcome back. You're watching and listening to Britain's Newsroom. We're live across the United Kingdom on GB News with Andrew Pearce and Miriam Cates.
So the UK, Ukraine and France and others have signed a declaration of intent where they say they will deploy boots on the ground to Kiev in the event of a peace deal between Ukraine and Russia.
Here's what our Prime Minister had to say at the Coalition of the Willing meeting.
Alongside President Zelensky and President Macron, we went even further today. We signed a declaration of intent on the deployment of forces to Ukraine in the event of a peace deal. Following a ceasefire, the UK and France will establish military hubs across Ukraine and build protected facilities for weapons and military equipment to support Ukraine's defensive needs.
But just hours later, US President Donald Trump threatened to use military force to take over Greenland, claiming that the move was necessary to ensure national security.
Well, let's talk now to the author and writer James Gray, who's written a rather interesting piece, I think, in The Spectator, about Greenland. James Gray, good morning. Can you tell us, would you, if you had a choice, would you go and spend a month on holiday in Greenland?
I have often spent a month in Greenland. It's one of my favourite places in the world. It's really a wonderful spot, but not somewhere that I'd want to invade. There's absolutely no purpose whatsoever in doing it. So I think while I accept entirely people like Ben Wallace who are saying this would be a catastrophe for NATO, I think the chance of there being an invasion of Greenland of any kind whatsoever is extremely remote. And I say that for three reasons, really. First of all, America already have a very substantial military presence in Greenland. At the Pacific base, they're the only military in Greenland. Greenland themselves have no army. It's a very large base. It's about the size of Gatwick Airport. It has capacity for up to 6,000 soldiers there. And under a UN agreement, America can deploy soldiers anywhere they like around Greenland. That's item one. Talking of which, incidentally, they just agreed to spend $4 billion upgrading it, so that's absolutely fine. Secondly, there's nothing to invade in Greenland. I mean, there's only one road. It's about 100 miles long, one road. You've got to go everywhere by plane or by boat. 90% of the country is under ice, which is up to 2 or 3 miles deep. So we're talking really seriously. You can't live there. It's minus 50, minus 60 degrees midwinter. And outside of that, there's only one main town, Nuuk, which is a population of 20,000. There's no industry. There's no military. There's no nothing. And therefore, why on earth would you want to invade it? And third, actually, what Trump is talking about is minerals. He's not actually talking about controlling the government at all. It's all about minerals. And here, we could be talking Turkey, because the 56,000 population of Greenland, who are nearly all Inuit, have no possible capability to dig up the vast quantities of minerals which are under the Greenland ice. America needs to come in with trillions of dollars from Wall Street, and if they do that, then they'll start to produce something like 10% of the world's rare earths are under Greenland. So it's really quite significant, and we need some Wall Street money in order to start producing it.
And of course, one of the reasons why this has become so topical is because at the moment, a lot of those minerals are used and produced in Taiwan for computer chips. And were China to invade Taiwan, which is looking possible at least, the world would need another source of those minerals.
That's precisely right. Something like 80%, I think, of the really top end of the chips are made in Taiwan. And that would make America dependent on China if they were to invade. So Trump's determined to find an alternative source. He'll set up factories in wherever it might be in the Midwest or somewhere. And he needs rare earths and strategic minerals to supply those factories. So that's what it's all about. Typical Trump, he says, I'm going to buy it, so I'm going to invade it. What he actually means, or what he ought to do, and what the end result ought to be, is that the money comes in from Wall Street, vast quantity. We're talking trillions of dollars here, a lot of money. Very, very difficult conditions to mine in. Let's get some decent money in there, and the Inuit, of course, would welcome that. They'd become the Greenlandic equivalent of Saudi Arabian oil magnates. They'd love it. America would love it. But let's talk about warfare or invasions or NATO falling to pieces. It's gross exaggeration. And I don't quite know why I was making quite such a fuss about it. No way in the world is Trump going to invade Greenland. It's simply ridiculous to suggest. He's already there. He's already there. The only military force in Greenland is American.
So what is this about? Is this posturing to make sure that he can get a deal there to put Europeans off from objecting?
Well, I think classic Trump. I mean, so many of the things he says about a playground in Gaza, about sorting out Ukraine, he says things in the most ridiculous way. Behind the way he says them sometimes, there's good sense. Yeah. And here, Greenland needs America, and America needs Greenland. Absolutely fine. So let's find a way of making that happen. But let's talk about invading or talk about buying Greenland. It's just silly. It's just idiotic talk. But that's classic Trump sort of bluff and blunder. And actually, behind it lies quite a sensible thought.
I think, James, he's much shrewder. Some people think he's a blundering idiot. I think he's much shrewder than people think.
I think he's much shrewder than people think. I think his thoughts are very often absolutely right. And he has achieved a ceasefire in Gaza. And he is making steps towards peace in Ukraine, although that's a more problematical matter. But he is doing things, making things happen. What he did in Venezuela is controversial. I personally think actually it was a very good thing to have done. No reason why he shouldn't do it. He's talking about dredging the Panama Canal. He's actually doing stuff, albeit expressing it in the most clumsy and sort of controversial and difficult way.
Yeah.
Well, James Gray.
He's unfiltered.
He's unfiltered, that is absolutely right. Well, thank you, James, for a fascinating analysis. James Gray, author and writer there.
Really interesting, actually, because I was very tempted when we were speaking to the MP from Greenland earlier to say, tell us the virtues of your country. Why would anybody want to occupy it and invade it? Well, James Gray's just...
There's just nothing to invade, he says.
There's nothing to invade, yeah.
I mean, it is pretty cold. But it is fascinating, this analysis, because some analysts are also saying that the Venezuelan operation was all about China too. It's not really about oil, it's about Chinese influence over Venezuela and the need for America to prepare in case they do end up in a conflict with China.
China depends very heavily on cheap Venezuelan oil, which is how they pay the debt, because Venezuela owes China tens of billions of pounds.
I see.
64 billion, I think.
So is this all about China? Is it all linked?
Of course it is, because he's shrewder than people give him credit for. Now, moving on. A Turkish national, Adam Savas, has been jailed for 11 years after supplying boats and engines to help people smugglers cross the channel.
Well, joining us now from the National Crime Agency is GB News' national reporter, Will Godley. Will, nice to see you. Please tell us more.
Well, Miriam, Andrew, good morning to you. Yeah, Adam Savas described today as the most significant supplier of small boats to these smuggling gangs who operate in the English Channel. At one point, they believe he supplied half of the boats used in 2023 by these smuggling boats. And this has been a long operation by the National Crime Agency and other authorities in Europe as they sought to bring him to justice, and that justice being brought today as he was sentenced to 11 years in prison at a Belgian court today, and also fined £346,000 as Savas, this 45-year-old Turkish man, admitted his guilt in court for supplying people smugglers with engines, with small boats and also with life jackets. He also admitted his guilt to being part of an organised criminal gang between 2019 and 2024 when he was arrested. And the way this gang worked, described as operating throughout Europe, was that they would order parts from China, parts that were never designed for sea crossings. They would ship them to Turkey before these parts would then be entering Europe through Bulgaria, moving into Germany, where they were then stored in a warehouse. And the National Crime Agency found many of his stock in a warehouse in Germany, where he would then sell them from Germany to criminal gangs operating in northern France. A cost of £4,000 for a boat and an engine. And the National Crime Agency behind me believe he made and profited millions of pounds throughout his criminal gang. And reacting to the news today, the National Crime Agency have said Adam Savas was without doubt the most significant supplier of small boats and engines to people smuggling gangs involved in organising deadly crossings in the Channel. The head of a criminal network stretching across Europe to the beaches of northern France and across into the UK. They say he knew exactly how unsuitable what he was supplying was for sea crossings, and they today very pleased that they finally brought him to justice.
Well, Godley, thank you very much for that report.
Very encouraging. One down, thousands more to go.
Yes, smash those gangs.
Yeah. Now, time for the Break British giveaway. You could be up, win £85,000. It's the equivalent of £7,000 a month extra to spend each month for the whole year. Hayley Sparks can tell you how.
It's a brand new year and we're giving you the chance to win our biggest cash prize to date. £85,000 in tax-free cash to make your new year the best yet. And we've come to the Aurora Collection Resort here in Lapland to celebrate. Imagine what the coming year could look like for you with a whopping £85,000 in the bank. You can have the complete Lapland experience all in one place by visiting the Northern Lights Village. Or just safe in the knowledge that this year is on us. An incredible £85,000 in tax-free cash could be yours.
For another chance to win £85,000 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB18 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 30th of January. The winner may be contacted live on GB News, week commencing the 9th of February 2026. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Well, coming up next, the drink driving limit is set to be slashed, which could be the final nail in the coffin for British pubs.
Going to be talking about that and more with those Stadler and Waldorf of GB News themselves, Stephen Pound and Mike Parry, both of whom do their best to keep our pubs going strong, particularly Mr. Parry. This is Britain's Newsroom on GB News.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints. How many fingers have I got up? About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back. 26 minutes past 11. You're watching and listening to Britain's Newsroom on GB News with Andrew Pearce and Miriam Cates. And we're joined.
Yeah, they're back. Parry and Pound, here they are.
We've been resuscitated.
Well, they did a good job.
No, I think you mean they picked you up off the floor, Steve.
Didn't know we had any first aid specialists in GB News, but glad to hear it. What should we talk? Should we talk about this? The problem for pubs, because of course, on the one hand, reducing the legal drink drive limit seems quite sensible. You shouldn't really drink and drive at all. Brings us in line with other similar countries, but. For rural pubs
Scotland, after all.
and Scotland, but for rural pubs, this could be.
Well, it's just one of many things. I mean, the smoking ban effect. But I remember I was in Swindon for the last election. To my amazement, I was pulled in at a pub, you know, just to check out the local pub, have a bit of discussion at a few jars, and they had 5 invalid carriages. You know those invalid cars outside. Yeah. And
invalid scooters, mobility scooters. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, it's mobility scooters. Yeah. And I said, oh gosh. And he said, no. When people have had too much to drink, we put them on a mobility scooter and send them home. Yeah. So you know,
It's not safe either.
Yeah, no, it's not.
But it's not illegal, you see. So
but this is clearly another attack by Labour on the rural community, isn't it? It's clearly an attack on the rural community. Listen, I know
pubs in cities as well, mate.
Hang on, I live in Stockbroker Belt, Surrey. Yeah. I know so many people that I see at the weekend who, during the week, will literally stop at their local pub in their village, have a quick pint, and then go home to have their dinner. It's a ritual, you know. At the end of the day, that break between work and home is, 20 minutes in the pub with a pint. All that will go. But it's not just that. It's that Labour hate the country. They hate farmers. You know, they hate anything to do with fox hunting or country pursuits. Now they've decided to kill off the country pub. Reading a piece in the Times this morning by Jonathan Neame, who is the chief executive of one of Britain's oldest pubs, Shepherd Neame, and he says there's a risk Labour is doing to us what Thatcher did to the miners. He thinks they could kill the rural pub industry, and he knows what he's talking about, Stephen, and you don't.
I'm sorry, I would take second place to no man in my knowledge of the pubs and hostelries and alehouses of London.
Particularly lying face down on the floor in them, yes?
That's good heavens, only when I'm picking you up, mate.
Harsh.
The reality is that the whole hospitality industry is changing. There's a new wine bar just opened just about 4 doors down from where I live, and it's a wine bar. A different, well, indeed. It's a different way of operating, a different way of working. But you talk about that, somebody stopping in for a pint on a Sunday after church. Yeah, no problem at all. Unless you're a newly qualified driver, you can have a pint.
Yes,
but
exactly.
If you're just newly qualified, and I think the point is this is the whole debate we had about seatbelts with Barbara Castle back in the day, long before any of you were around, well, except for me and Mike. And the big debate is, where does individual liberty start and where does individual freedom start? And so the reality is you've got to sometimes actually look at the impact. You talk to anybody whose child has been killed by a drunk driver and they'll
totally
support
agree.
this.
But it is pretty extraordinary that 165 pubs have banned, or constituency pubs have banned Labour MPs.
Well, so they should, because a pub a day closed in this country last year. That's down to Rachel Reeves and the enormous amount of taxes and business rates she's hanging on pubs. Pubs are going to close because they can't afford to stay open.
Well, thank you, Stephen and Mike.
We've run out of time.
And we have, unfortunately. But at home, don't forget, it's Prime Minister's Question Time at midday. And as always, Tom Harwood and Gloria De Piero want your question for the Prime Minister. So please send your ideas into gbnews.com/your say.
Oh, and Stephen, don't go anywhere because we're going to test your eyesight next. Stephen.
Who said that?
By his hearing.
You're Stephen.
You're with Britain's Newsroom on GB News. Stick with us.
Yeah.
Hello again and welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. Staying cold today, showers for some, but actually bright for many with some sunshine coming through. We are in between weather systems at the moment, one low departing. That brought some rain, sleet and snow during Tuesday. Another frontal system starting to move in. This is going to bring some rain later on. But ahead of that, we're going to see plenty of sunny spells for many. One exception continues to be the northeast of Scotland, where some significant snow showers will continue to build up in the far northeast. Meanwhile, it's going to be feeling cold with a brisk breeze and temperatures of 4 to 6 Celsius fairly widely, lower than that over snow-covered parts of northern UK. And we're going to see a continued build-up of snow for some parts of Caithness, Orkney, as well as the northeast of Aberdeenshire. But these showers will be very localised. We'll see mostly clear conditions elsewhere as we end the afternoon and go into the evening. Exception being Northern Ireland, West Wales and the southwest, where cloud will arrive. And these outbreaks of rain, a few flakes of snow associated with this over higher parts of Northern Ireland and perhaps Wales, but mostly this is rain, and it's patchy rain. It's going to fizzle away overnight, but it will bring a lot of cloud in, and that cloud will mean that many places will be frost-free, particularly towards central and western parts of the country. The frost confined mostly to the east, with temperatures dipping below freezing and a few icy patches first thing. Now, Thursday starts with that cloud cover, but it will brighten up in the east, and that's where we keep mostly dry and bright weather through the day. Meanwhile, rain arrives into the southwest, some heavy rain, strengthening winds as well. They could be an issue in the far southwest, but the main concern is the snow across Wales and the Midlands.
you want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Now, we've kept Poundy here, Stephen Pound, because, as you may know, the government says that people over the age of 70 will soon have to have eye tests every 3 years if they want to carry on driving. So Mr Pound is over 70, quite considerably over 70, but obviously we won't say how many is over 70. So, Poundy, on that wall, there is a screen, and we want you to read what it says.
It seems to say, you are woke.
Well done. And, of course, if the cap fits, wear it.
But at least he can see.
So
You've stitched me like a kipper yet again.
Yes,
So
again.
you're allowed to drive home. And we won't
So you
stick
can drive
on a
home,
mobility
Stephen,
scooter.
because GB News is far too
chance of driving in central London.
GB News is far too mean to provide a car to take you home.
Sorry, when's the last time anybody drove in central London?
Well, you don't drive because the road...
You can ask Sadiq Khan about that, can't you?
Yeah, we're not starting this.
So we should.
Right.
And by the way, the Elizabeth
talk about contradiction in terms.
Optician visit over. Now's the news. OK, we're not going to news.
Are we going to the news? We're not going to the news. No, we'll carry on talking to Stephen Pound about his wonderful eyesight. You were hailing the joys of the Elizabeth line about Sadiq Khan recently. It's not even working in most of London today.
Here's the news with Tatiana Sanchez.
When it works, it's one...
Good morning. The top stories. Nigel Farage has announced that Layla Cunningham will be Reform UK's candidate for the next London mayoral elections and the party's campaign figurehead in the capital for upcoming local elections. Elsewhere, the UK, Ukraine and France have signed a declaration of intent to deploy forces to Kyiv in the event of a peace deal. Washington is promising to act as a backstop in case of any Russian aggression. Donald Trump threatened to use military force to take over Greenland, claiming the move is necessary to ensure national security. European leaders and the Greenland Prime Minister have issued warnings to the US president after he doubled down on his threats to take the territory. And a Turkish man has been found guilty of supplying hundreds of small boats and engines used by people smugglers to transport illegal migrants across the English Channel. Adam Savas was sentenced to 11 years in prison and fined £346,000. 3 other defendants were sentenced to 12 and 13 years in prison, and their arrest has been ordered. Those are the latest GB News headlines. For now, more from me at 1 o'clock.
Tune in to GB News Radio wherever you are. Online, on DAB Digital Radio, on TuneIn, on Radio Player, on Nation Player and on your smart speaker. Just say, play GB News.
Welcome back. It's 24 minutes to 12. You're with Britain's Newsroom on GB News with Andrew Pearce and Miriam Cates.
Now, at the Reform press conference today, Nigel Farage announced that Layla Cunningham, who is a barrister, will be Reform UK's candidate. She's also a Westminster councillor. She used to be part of the Conservative Party. So she will be fighting the next London mayoral elections in 2028 and will be the party's figurehead in the capital for upcoming local elections in May.
Well, joining us now to discuss this is the Labour MP for Kettering, Rosie Writing. Rosie, good morning. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. What did you make of this announcement? Of course, it's a long time until the London mayoral elections, but Layla Cunningham lost no time in damning Sadiq Khan's record as Mayor of London.
I think it was another example of reform, whether that's from Nigel Farage or Leila Cunningham, coming on our TV screens and talking down our country, talking down our capital city, because to create that division only suits them. It only suits them. They're not offering any sort of solutions. All they're doing is creating division. And I think that says a lot. It says a lot because is this someone that you would want in power? Someone who doesn't come forward with any actual practical solutions to problems, but just talks our country down.
But isn't she entitled to point out, while in other parts of the country, Rosie, crime is falling, recorded crime has increased by 31% in the past decade in the Metropolitan Police area, with violent crime up by 40%. She's not talking that down. She's got a duty to remind people that's happened. Most of that's happened on Sadiq Khan's watch.
And increasing crime, whether that's in our capital city or anywhere across the UK, is concerning. But I think that we also need to address the root cause of why these crimes are committed. And actually, with Sadiq Khan, we've seen a year-on-year decrease in things which are really concerning, like knife crime, and that's because of Sadiq Khan's leadership that we've seen, an increase in youth clubs and youth services to help young people see opportunities in their career rather than go onto our streets and cause crime. I think that while Leila, seeks to divide and scare, she doesn't actually talk much about what she would do to get crime down in our capital city.
Now, thinking about Sadiq Khan, he's obviously going to go for a fourth term, which would be a considerable victory. But is Labour as worried about the threat from the Green Party on the left as the Conservatives might be from Reform on the right, or vice versa?
I think, first I should start by saying I represent an area in Northamptonshire, so I'm not a London MP. But whether it's the Green Party or Nigel Farage, I think, to be honest, they play by the same rule book. They come on our screens and they say, if we just do this one thing, this one policy, it will change our country. And it's not true. And they have no ability to be able to deliver it. And all that's doing is offering false hope, when actually how we change this country is make people's day-to-day lives better, make people feel like they have more money at the end of the month. And that is what Labour is doing. I really do feel optimistic about 2026. I think it's going to be the year that people see their bills come down, their weekly shop come down, their pay packets go up, their mortgages come down, and that's because of the decisions that we have made in all areas of people's lives. While Reform and the Green Party, all they want to do is divide. Labour is getting on with making changes in people's lives they can actually feel.
Can we ask you about Grok here, Rosie? Because it's Elon Musk, the technology secretary Liz Kendall has said Elon Musk has got to deal with Grok. It's being used. It's the AI way of creating deep fake nudes of women and young girls and then putting them on X. What can be done about that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's really concerning. Some of the things that I saw on my screen on X over the weekend is, for me personally, and I think for a lot of young women, it really does hit hard, especially, someone who puts themselves out there as a politician. And it is scary that we live in a world, and, I've had this in recent days, where I feel uneasy about tweeting or putting a post up that has my face on it because I'm worried about images that might be created. I think that's scary. I think that what Liz Kendall has said around Ofcom looking at this urgently is the right thing to do, and she has my full backing, and I think cross-party people's backing of any enforcement policies that need to be put in place in order to get a grip on this. The online world is a scary one, and I think going back to what Leila was talking about as well, when we talk about crime, we do have to talk about crime both in real life but also on our screens as well. And that's why, despite so much opposition, I think the Online Safety Act was so important for this Labour government to prioritise, because people deserve to feel safe whilst on social media.
Now, what's so interesting about this story is that the AI chatbot on X, owned by Elon Musk, Grok, as we've been saying, does allow this nudification and creation of obscene images and videos of women, real women, created women. But the other AI platforms don't allow that. Why is it that Elon Musk is allowing this on his platform?
I think that's the questions that we have for Elon Musk, and it's the reason why there has been so much outrage about this. I know that X, formerly Twitter, has always had slightly more relaxed rules about explicit images. I think now is the time that we need to crack down on that, not just because we need to make sure that it's a safe place, but actually consent is so important, and the images that have been created are just absolutely appalling. I mean, things I've seen on my phone over the weekend make me actually sick to my stomach, and the online world can be fantastic, and I do genuinely believe that social media can bring around so many opportunities for young people, but we need it to be safe in order to harness those opportunities.
Rosie, thank you so much for joining us this morning, and I hope you don't get too cold in this winter storm. That's the Labour MP for Kettering, Rosie Writing, joining us there. Well, in a statement, X said, "We take action against illegal content on X, including child sexual abuse material, by removing it, permanently suspending accounts and working with local government and law enforcement as necessary." Andrew, I am really concerned about X. I mean, when the controversy about the Online Safety Act age verification came in last July, X put all these notices out saying you can't view this unless you're over a certain age, and made out that this was censorship. But other platforms were showing those videos without these particular warnings. They found a way to lawfully comply with the Online Safety Act. X just doesn't want to be regulated at all because they have so much obscene content on it that it makes them money. And this is just another example.
How else can he afford to shove his stupid rockets in space? He's making so much money.
It's a great question.
And porn is a lot of it.
Yeah,
no doubt about it.
It's the most likely place for children to find pornography above adult websites is Twitter.
Amazing.
So if he got rid of it, he would lose a lot of money. Yeah. Well, coming up next, more than 1,000 schools are shut as Storm Goretti approaches. Is it really necessary to shut so many? Andrew doesn't think so.
No.
Send them to school in their shorts.
Yeah, exactly. Doing a bit of good and shove them up the chimneys while they're at it too. Now, I mean, talking of snow, of course, we thought might like to have a bit of escapism. So here is the forecast of some of our warmer European destinations.
You're looking happy.
Well, the forecast looks good.
So you've sorted the travel insurance then?
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GBNews Travel Destinations Forecast.
Whilst we've seen the cold weather affect the UK and much of Western Europe, it's turning less cold in Iberia now, whilst it's increasingly unsettled across southeastern parts of Europe, especially Greece and Turkey, where we'll see strong winds and heavy rain moving through during Thursday and Friday. Italy's on the cold side, temperatures a few degrees below average. Meanwhile, temperatures have now recovered for Spain and Portugal, back up to the double figures or the teens in places.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GBNews Travel Destinations Forecast.
I'm Michelle Dewberry, this is Jubes & Co with you.
Hello everyone, Patrick Christie is here. GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Access the stories that matter to you. Take the GB News family with you on any device, and as long as you have an internet connection. Tune in to GB News, anywhere on the planet or beyond. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
No matter the state it's in, this is our nation. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for a genuine, honest discussion on where we have been, where we are going, and where we are with the people who set the direction. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Only on GB News.
Bold. They are under no illusion. Ray. Are you a human trafficker? Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Don't get us on the BBC.
Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines.
The smell of gasoline. Should we be worried about it?
From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos.
What I'm going to do now is they are throwing things out the car as we speak.
Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. only on GB News. Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
Because
the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel. Join me, Nana Okoye, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Welcome back. We've got the first Prime Minister's questions of the year. Let's cross to Westminster with Gloria De Piero and Tom Harwood. Sorry about that. Well, there's no shortage of news so far this year, is there, you two?
No, and Happy New Year to you both. Miriam Cates, you see? I can get it right.
Well done. One up on me.
I wonder which of the party leaders is going to have a good year, and we'll get the first flavour of that today when Kemi Badenoch goes head-to-head with the Prime Minister.
Absolutely, and of course there is so much to not only listen out for, but actually look for in terms of body language. Will the MPs behind the Prime Minister be as effusive in supporting him as they usually do? He was absent, of course, from the Commons both yesterday and the previous day, so this is the first time we get to see him in the flesh. But the programme that we're about to do is not about the politicians, even though we're going to have two of them, or even about us.
Not even you, Tom.
Not even me. Shock horror. Can you believe? No, we want your questions to put to the politicians that will be here in this studio.
gbnews.com/yoursay.
And of course, I'd have thought you guys, some of those Labour MPs sitting behind the Prime Minister, would be unsettled by those polls this year, which have put them behind the Tories for the first time.
Yeah, third place on the poll, not just in several individual polls, but on the polling average, which really, really matters.
Well, thank you both. Looking forward to that. But coming up next, over 1,000 schools have shut yesterday over snow and ice warnings.
The closures come as Storm Goretti, which is the latest stupid name the weathermen have given the storm, hits the UK with temperatures plummeting to as low as 9 degrees.
Fahrenheit, minus 12.5 degrees centigrade, which is really cold. But are these closures really necessary, and what impact will they have?
Let's talk to Chris McGovern, who is chairman of the Campaign for Real Education and a former head teacher. Chris, I think in your day you wouldn't have closed your school unless the snow was virtually at the top of the building.
No, I recall when I was head teacher, it was snowing, and one of the members of staff asked me, were we going to close the school? I said, well, we got through the Battle of Britain, we can get through this. You know, we really are creating a generation of wimps, I think.
Yeah.
It's a problem. We already have in our education system around 20% of young people who are absent, persistently absent, you know, 1 day a week or so. So we've got a crisis in terms of attending children attending school. We need to build resilience, and teachers often and educationalists often talk about building resilience. Well, here's an example. We can build resilience by encouraging children to go to school. Look, I recognise there are extreme conditions in some parts of the country. It's not possible. And some teachers can't get in either. But when I was ahead, I made sure I always got in. And if there weren't enough teachers in, I took the whole school in the hall. You know, it's a good opportunity to talk about climate change when we've got snow like this.
Well, there's not so many opportunities as there used to be, perhaps because of climate change. I mean, Chris, I take a slightly different view. I mean, snow days when I was a child and I grew up near the Peak District, it was very cold sometimes, one of the highlights of my childhood. Day off school, go sledging, very educational.
Yeah, it's great. These days, unfortunately, they're more likely to be in front of a computer and they're on social media. And sadly, I'm not a killjoy. And you know, in my school, the children used to break the door down to get in, and we couldn't get them out at the end of the day. It was very popular. There were 7 applicants for each place. So I ran a successful school. The kids were very happy there. But no nonsense about this closing the school. I never closed the school. Never closed the school. We can always have somebody in the school.
Chris, I'm so sorry to cut you off, but we're tight on time. We have to leave it there. But Chris McGovern, thank you so much for bringing us that. Don't go anywhere because
with them 100%.
We've got all the build-up for PMQs coming up. Not long to go for the first one back for MPs.
Secretary of State, that's not the case.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hi there and welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. Lots of interesting weather to talk about at the moment, and it's another cold and icy start for many of us this morning. Dry and bright though for most through the day. Still some showers around. Early doors, a few showers coming into parts of Wales, the west of England. Showers also continuing across the north of Scotland, northeast England. And we're going to see a mix of rain and sleet around the coast, sleet and snow inland. So further snow accumulations, but possibly not quite as many snow accumulations for northern Scotland compared with recent days. For many, it's a dry and bright day with sunny spells, but a cold feel, windier compared with the start of the week, so temperatures of 3 to 6 Celsius, feeling rather cold. Now, we're going to end the day with clear spells for much of central Scotland, further showers coming into the north and northeast of Scotland, 1 or 2 showers drifting into the southeast of Scotland, northeast England as well. Northern Ireland, though, by this time, we'll see an area of cloud thickening up and some outbreaks of mostly rain, but some snow over hills moving in. This is light rain. It's going to push into Pembrokeshire, Devon, Cornwall as well at this stage. As it moves east, it will tend to fizzle away. It does contain slightly milder air, so mostly this is going to be rain rather than snow. And it tends to push a lot of cloud in across the UK. So less frosty, less icy on Thursday morning, but still some slippery surfaces to wake up to, particularly towards the east. And we'll see some brightness towards the southwest, but for most it's a grey start to the day with bits and pieces of rain or sleet around first thing. They tend to dry up and then brighter skies turn up in the east, whilst a next band of rain turns up in the southwest. Now this is Storm Goretti. This has been named by Meteo France because of very strong winds expected over northern France. It will bring strong winds to the southwest, but it's also going to bring a risk of snow to Wales, the Midlands and East Anglia.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello from the Aurora Collection Resort here in Lapland. We're on an amazing Arctic adventure to celebrate our greatest cash giveaway, a simply stunning £85,000.
And in 2026, we're giving you the chance to win it all.
For another chance to win £85,000 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus 1 standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus 1 standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB18 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 30th of January. The winner may be contacted live on GB News, week commencing the 9th of February 2026. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now? No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints. How many fingers have I got up?
About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m. only on GB News.
No matter the state it's in, this is our nation. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for a genuine, honest discussion on where we have been, where we are going, and where we are with the people who set the direction. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock, only on GB News.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
We're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Britain's Newsroom. We're just in the build-up now to the first Prime Minister's question of the year. And it's been a quiet year so far, Andrew.
Extraordinary. So if the Prime Minister was hoping to do yet another reset, he's been blown way off course by events in South America and the continuing bellicose noises from the White House over the fate of Greenland. Despite the Prime Minister and all those European leaders gathering yesterday...
For the coalition of the witless.
Yeah.
I mean the willing.
Yes. Starmer doesn't really give a fig what they think. So currently we've got the Hilary Benn, the Northern Ireland Secretary, taking questions. That is a contentious area at the moment, of course, because of the legacy legislation going through, which potentially is putting servicemen and women who were there in Northern Ireland during the Troubles in the 1970s and 60s liable to prosecution.
It does feel like some of the issues that we've believed have been settled for some decades now have suddenly become unsettled again. Things like the ownership of Greenland, or whether or not Venezuela is a sovereign state, or Northern Ireland settlement.
Yeah, and
turbulent times.
And very turbulent times, and Northern Ireland in particular, I think, has got all sorts of issues there. I know David Davis, who's often been on this programme, the Tory MP, he's in leading the fight to stop this legacy legislation being overturned. And it should be, because it's shameful, frankly.
Yeah.
Because the IRA killers, the terrorists, they all got a comfort letter from Blair as part of the peace process, which was horrible, but I understood it, to get peace done.
To draw a line under it.
To get peace done. So they are still exempt from prosecution, but the soldiers who are doing their job, defending Queen and country, are not. So the Prime Minister's taken his seat. He won't know what paid not will go on today, because it could be cost of living,
could be pubs that we've been talking about.
The EU reset, which is the great British Brexit betrayal, the great sellout.
There are lots of foreign questions she could go on, but the problem for her will be, firstly, it's not particularly a vote winner, and secondly, she agrees with the Prime Minister on Ukraine, for example, probably takes a similar stance on Greenland. So it's not really an area of disagreement, I would think.
Yeah, and also the point I make is she needs to attack him on an area where there is clear blue water between the Conservative Party and the Labour government, and there's very few votes in foreign policy.
Well,
perhaps cost of living?
Yes, perhaps cost of living. We could see a rise in unemployment from the spring as the new minimum wage kicks in.